Hello, everybody. Welcome to Silent Podcast, the place that we're everything but silent. I'm your host, Isaiah, back with Bounce Checks. It's been a little bit since we did our Big Brother podcast. The last one we did was our season wrap up. I'm here with my co-host, Josiane. Josie, how you doing?
I'm so good. I'm excited. It's been a minute. I had to take a break because once Felicia was out of the house, I was done with this season. I'm not going to even lie. So I'm excited to be back and chatting and having a good time discussing my favorite subject. So, I'm excited.
All right. And as she said, we have a very, very special guest from our most recent season, fourth placer, Felicia Cannon. Felicia, how are you doing today?
I am doing fabuli. That was my word in the house.
Awesome. Obviously we talked before we went live. We don't know how long we're going to be here. We're going to chat and we're just going to go with the vibe. So this should be a fun time. But Felicia, first and foremost, we're going to talk about all the craziness, but you're out there now, how has life outside the Big Brother house been for you?
It has been an adjustment, and it sounds crazy because 4 months doesn't seem like a long time, but when you literally, the day we drove off from my house, they took my phone. I had no access to any social media, anything until November 9th, from July 22nd to November 9th. So no TV, no phone, no nothing, no calls, no nothing. And, you can't even talk to your family. So it's a lot. And so coming back and then realizing that the world has moved on, even though it's 4 months, a lot happens in 4 months. And a whole lot happens because even my brother passed while I was in the house. And that was a huge something for me. And I really weighed on whether or not I wanted to leave the house, stay in the house. My family convinced me that my brother would want me to stay, and that's why I stayed. And so that's why I say 4 months, while it seems like, a lot can happen in 4 months. And adjusting back and getting used to being able to just come and go as you please, not having somebody say, wakey, wakey every morning and telling you when to get up, telling you when they can turn out the lights or turning out the lights for you, pushing buttons to get indoors. Crazy. It's an adjustment. It's an adjustment. And now it's funny because, there's so much to talk about. The house was freezing cold. I'm back in my house, and now I'm telling my husband every day, it's hot in here. It's hot in here. And this is the temperature we've always had it, but we keep the house at 70. Well, in the house, it was 50. That's why we always had on robes and hats and stuff, because they kept the house cold because of the cameras and stuff. So just a lot, just a lot. It's an adjustment.
I'm so curious to talk about your journey, especially in the beginning, because you were a big fan, I'll say, of the show prior to getting onto the season. So what was your history with the show before you got on?
Me and my husband and our son used to actually watch it with us, but we have watched Big Brother since the very first season. Never missed a season. And we've always liked seeing if we can figure out who we think is going to win and picking who we think are the good players, the bad players, the dumb moves, the smart moves. And probably about 5 years ago, I started laughing, saying, I can get on Big Brother. I used to first say Survivor, but as I got older, I said, no, I can't do outdoors because I'm too old for all of that. The outdoors, the weather, the inclement, being dirty, leave that one alone. But as the more I watched Big Brother, I said, I think I can do this one because it's about relationship. And I think I do people well. And so last year when I retired, last June, I said, I'm applying. And in October, I came home one day. We had gone to a real estate something, came home, I was dressed, and I said, I'm ready to do my video. And my husband laughs at me. He's like, You really think you're going to get on Big Brother? I said, yes, I do. I'm walking through the door. Let's do the video. Sent the video in October, and right around the end of February, March, I got my first text, and I'm looking at my phone one day, and it's like, hey, Felicia, this is the casting people from Big Brother. We love to chat with you if you have time. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh my God. And from there, it was like game on. It was on like popcorn.
That's awesome. Felicia, going in, like, did you do any like homework? Were you like, I gotta rewatch the Big Brother stuff? I wanna play like this person or that person. Like, what was your pre-game setup before going into the house?
Well, now that's probably where I messed up because I should have done that. And I think I thought in my head because, I've watched the show for 20 years. So I don't need to do that. I know the show. And I wish I had actually practiced some of the competitions. I did actually, now this is funny because I know my balance is bad. And that's the one thing that I was worried about. So I was practicing, I couldn't get a balance beam, but I was practicing walking on the edge of our pool, being able to walk in straight lines without losing my balance. And we have a gazebo, like a pavilion thing outside. So I was trying to practice hanging from that in case I ended up in some challenge where I had to like hang from a bar. I lasted about 20 seconds. I said, okay, I'm good. So I knew those kinds of challenges were going to take me down. But I have to be honest and say, I did not do any real prep as far as rewatching shows because I was misguided in my thinking I know the show, I'll be fine.
Well, so you still did. Oh, go ahead, Josie. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say, like, even in Sequester, did they not have like maybe seasons for you to watch, and you were like, no, or was it like even before Sequester, like you didn't even, that wasn't even a thought?
Once you got in Sequester, they gave you nothing. So we couldn't even in our Sequester, we couldn't watch TV. Our phone went directly to production. So we couldn't leave our room unless somebody knocked on the door and asked us to come to the door. There was nothing. We didn't even have a pen in our room.
Okay.
So you couldn't do anything to prep for the show once you left your front door. So any prepping that I didn't do before I left my house, it was too late by the time we got on the airplane. Missed opportunity.
It's okay. All stars.
All stars. And you know, there's so many things now where I say, if I could do it again, I learned a lot, and I would do some things differently going back in.
I mean, would you?
Oh, I absolutely would. Not as far as who I am, because I'm still going to be me. So that wouldn't change. I would shut up a whole lot more. I wouldn't talk as much, and I would be a lot probably slower to commit to alliances. I think that was a huge mistake. I started trusting people way too early, and I think that bit me. And I won't say it bit me because I lasted 96 days, but I was on the block 8 times. So that became a source of pain for me because I'm thinking, why does everybody think it's okay for me to be the seasoned pawn? That bothered me. I'm not going to lie.
I honestly, it would bother me as well. I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, I am curious, did age ever play a factor into the way your thought process was going prior to the season? We did see some players take creative liberties with their age. So I was just curious, like, was that ever like something you thought about, like being a disadvantage? Did you think like, I can use this to my advantage? Like, what was your thought process about that? Because it is a social game and a social experiment. So obviously people use anything and everything to their advantage.
I was initially asked if I was going to be forthright in how old I was, what I do, all of that kind of stuff. And I thought about it for a second. I said, I could probably go in and say I'm 50 and they would believe me. But something just said no, because again, that was Bowie Jane's problem. She told a lie and then she had to make everything else line up. And that's why she never told you nothing. She didn't know the age of her mama. She didn't know the birthdays of her siblings. It's like, okay. So we knew she was lying because she didn't know nothing. So, you know, when you tell the first lie, everything else has to line up with the lie. And I decided I didn't want to do that. That's too much work. Because at 63, you already forget stuff. And so I just said, no, I'm going to be 63. And if it works against me, it just works against me. But I just got to do me. Because I've always felt like even in my age, I'm still kind of a youthful minded person. I like to have fun. I've got a playful spirit. So I actually really figured I would just be okay.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Now, going in, obviously, and we can start talking about the show a little bit. You know, you guys are going in, and obviously you guys have like Riley as like your first HOH. You're meeting everybody. Before we even get to like all the craziness, you guys see that Cerie's there. I don't know if you knew who Cerie was.
I knew who Cerie was.
Okay. So what was your reaction with not only meeting all these new people, but then also Cerie's there? Like, what's going through your mind? Like, how are you going to like operate going forward after seeing all these people?
Well, you know, you go in and you're looking at everybody up and down and measuring them up, and who do you think's going to be a strong player? Who's going to be a leader right off the bat? Who's going to be the sneaky? You know, everybody's got a role they're playing. Who's the person that you know going to be lying, cheating, and stealing all the way through? Who's the person who do you think are going to have the showmances? You have all of that. And then Cerie, now again, I recognized Cerie as soon as I walked in. It's like, I know that. I know that face. And I'm like, you are from, and she said, Survive. And I said, yes. Oh my God. But I think that's probably as far as it went. And I don't know if maybe that even bothered her, because the rest of the younger people, they were really enamored with her. Oh my God, Cerie from Survivor. And I think that's why she had a lot more liberty than a lot of other people, because they felt like they were already in the house with a star. And maybe if I was younger, I would have felt that way too. But in my head, it's like, okay, it's Cerie. She did Survivor. But okay, now she's in Big Brother, and this is a completely different game. But I actually really connected with her right off the bat. I mean, she made a final two with me on day one. She came to me. Now, what I didn't realize was that Jared was her son, and she was never going to carry me to a final two. I trusted that though. And that's kind of where our relationship went awry, is when I realized with the Izzy vote that they never really did intend on having me as part of this 4-person Brown Sugar Babes or being in a final two with her. And I realized Jared had shifted. And so then I knew there was something that I was missing. It never registered that was her son. Never. And they looked just alike. Once they told us, I looked at them and I thought, oh my God, how did you miss that, Felicia? They look just like each other.
The craziness is when Blue, and I know we're jumping ahead a little bit, but when Blue found out that Jared's mom was in the game, she's like, is it Felicia? Like nobody thought it was Cerie. It was crazy, man. It was crazy.
I think because right off the bat, Jared is the one that started calling me Mama Fee.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. Because he said, I feel funny calling you by your first name. Is it okay if I call you Mama, Mama Felicia, Mama Fee? And I said, whatever works for you guys. And then once he started it, the whole house just picked it up.
So I was just going to say, before we even get like any deeper in the game, throughout this stream, since we are doing this live, I am going to let the chat at some points ask some questions and some segments. So our friends at Who are going to be there. Shout out Eric. He wants to know, how would your game have changed if you knew that Jared and Cerie were like, you know, related, since you're talking about it right now?
Oh, I would have played a completely different game with regards to them, because knowing that was her son, well, one, then I would have known that her and I never would have had a final two. And I would have known that he always came before me. So then the whole way I talked, because and I won't say I talked bad about him, because I actually truly, genuinely liked Jared and Cerie. But I probably, when he was doing things like with Blue, and I was thinking, I think Jared's getting a little close to Blue, he might want to shut that down. Well, I wouldn't have said stuff like that. And I definitely wouldn't have gone to him and said to him, Cerie just irritated me when she just went upstairs and just basically regurgitated the whole conversation that we just had downstairs with Jag. And then pretty much threw me under the bus and said, tell him, Felicia, tell him. And that irritated me. And I was trying to figure out why she did that.
Yeah.
And didn't realize that my conversation with Jared, he went back and told her, and that's when everything shifted.
Got it. And then another question, and then we can just let Josie go on from there. It's from Joseph. He's a regular in our chat. He wanted to know, when the cast found out that the season was going to be 100 days from August into the first week of November, what was the first thing that went through you guys' mind?
Well, we knew that before we actually even found out if we were going to be on the show. They had sent out documents that said the season will last this long. And it was like, oh my God, this is longer than they've ever had. But I think you don't think about it because the average person, even though I'll be honest, in my head, I told myself you're going all the way to the end. And I'm thinking 100 days is a long time, but all I did was, will we be back before Thanksgiving? They said yes. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I just wanted to make sure I'd be home before Thanksgiving.
Okay. Go ahead, Josie.
Yeah, so we were talking about week 1, so I just want to go back there because you kind of started the game also. I don't want to say at a disadvantage, but I think behind people because you automatically were one of the 4 nominated because of the competitions, which, by the way, I say remove day 1 competitions completely. I am not a fan.
Yes.
So you had to play a little bit more offensively is what I'll say, because you want to be off the block. You don't want to be, the first 2 officially nominated. So what was your mindset in comparison maybe to others because you were kind of at risk?
Now, I'll be honest. When I lost that competition, I felt my heart sink. It's like, okay, now I know I didn't go through all of this process, finally walk through the door, and I'm one of the first 4 nominees, and she's going to pick 2, and I know she's probably going to pick me because I'm the senior person here, and they figure, get rid of her, that's the easy pick. And it was exactly what I knew was going to happen. And so then I decided, Felicia, for about a couple hours on like day 1, day 2, I sat on the couch and I felt myself going into this slump, and I just said, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. You can't afford to go there. You've got to show them that bubbly, high energy, full of life Felicia, and hope that resonates with them where they say, we cannot kick her out right off the beginning. And so all I did was just become me, show them me, and pray that somebody else, and this is the one thing that happened the whole season. When I was on the block 8 times, the week you're on the block, you have to be very careful not to say or do anything that can make people say, oh, she got to go. So that's when you really have to walk a fine line. And it's almost like you sit back, you go silent and pray the other person does something. And literally that's what happened pretty much every time I was on the block. The other person did something to sabotage themselves, which kept me in the house. And that's what worked for me. For the first time, I had to say in my head, I won't say the first time, but I had to follow through with the shut up, Felicia. Don't say nothing.
I mean,
there were times when I really wanted to say a whole lot more than I did, but I was like, be quiet. Because if you say too much, you will become the target.
Exactly.
I mean, when you did say something, we were all excited on the live feeds. Like, there's one moment, we'll talk about it when we get there. There's one moment you come up to Corey and Jack and you say, so who's going? And it was so good because you were so bright. Jack was the invisible HOH. So it was very entertaining to watch. But it was interesting to see the shift because initially Riley was going to save you and Kirsten. And then Corey had a talk with Riley, and then I think they made an alliance, which was Family Style. I don't know if that's the official coined name. They've said so many things at this point. And then ultimately, you stay on the block with Kirsten. And there's a lot that happens in that week, specifically with Kirsten, that I would love to hear your opinion on, because I don't feel like anyone has really discussed that, but I feel like it was a hot topic during that week 1. Like, what do you think happened amongst like you, Kirsten, Suri, and like the rest of like the house during that week once you and Kirsten were the official nominees?
Well, unfortunately for Kirsten, she went in too hard too fast, and she really honestly and I'm assuming she'd be able to acknowledge this too. She sabotaged herself on day 1 or day 2. We were sitting in the comic room with 6 or 7, 8 people where nobody really knows anybody yet. And she starts making a lot of insinuations. I believe that the Have Not Room already has an alliance, and I believe there's a guy alliance, and we should start this alliance. And I don't, this person I think is bad. And and we're all sitting there saying, and I remember looking and saying, Kirsten, it's a little early for all of that. And I'm looking around the room thinking, we don't even know these people in the room yet. You saying a whole lot, and you should probably scale that back. And she kept talking. And after that, then word got out, the different things that she was saying. And I'll be honest, once I became an official nominee, I held a conversation with Riley and said, well, if you're trying to figure out who should be a target this week, well, somebody's already making themselves a target and running their mouth. So I was in survival mode at that time. And so I told Riley some of what Kirsten had said in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And that really was the downfall of Kirsten. And she also became very emotional. And what we also realized is, and I picked up on this in having a few conversations with her, because I genuinely like Kirsten, and I saw, and this is just Felicia's opinion, but I saw some insecurity there, and she was trying to figure out how to fit in. She didn't know how to be her authentic self. And I think people saw that. And at one point, she even told us, and I don't know who this was that said it to her, but she said that she was told, whatever you do, don't let anybody see the real you. Play a role. You don't want them to know who you really are. Now, I'm not sure why that was said to her, but she told us that she was told that. And I was like, okay. I said, but at some point, Kirsten, people have to feel like they can trust you, whoever you is, and they have to believe that they're seeing Kirsten at some point, the real Kirsten. I said, and everybody kind of feels like you're playing a role, and they see through that. For instance, in the first week, I had cooked a couple times. Well, one day, Kirsten decides she's cooking dinner for the house. And so I'm standing there just kind of watching, and my gut told me she didn't really know what she was doing. So she asked me, well, what do you think I should do with the chicken? How should I? And I said, well, what do you do when you cook this at home? How do you normally do it? And I was genuinely asking her that. And she said, girl, I ain't never cooked this stuff before. I don't cook like this at home. And that's when I looked at her and I said, okay, well, that's a problem. See, that's what I mean about being who you are. I said, if you don't cook at home, why are you trying to cook in the house for 16 people that are strangers, and this ain't what you do?
You don't want to keep like an act up for a long period of time, because it's going to fall off at some point,
100 days, it's sure to fall off.
Realize you are perpetrating.
Yeah. So obviously, you're like gravitating towards certain people. You're gravitating towards like a Sari, Jared, Nicole, Izzy, Heis, all those people, and we'll get into more of those people later on. But obviously, Kirsten is going to be the person that leaves. There's one other person that does leave. I don't know how much you want to even talk about this, because we unfortunately did not get to see everything. But the Luke expulsion, unfortunately, that whole mess happened. I don't know if you want to talk about all that, but
I'm not going to go deep. All I'll say is he made a derogatory comment, and that comment got him out of the house.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Period.
But you can tell that he had already started rubbing people the wrong way. He had upset Riley on day 1 on those first 4 competitions, because he was upset that she lasted so long, hanging on that wall. And he said, I can't get beat by a woman, a female. And Riley took offense to that, because she was a strong competitor. And so right off the bat, she kind of had and he kind of said and did a lot of quirky things. And Jared even said that he kept trying to reel him in, saying, Luke, you got to reel it in, man. You got to bring it down. I guess it was just Luke, but it didn't work. And so I think it was best what they did.
Okay, cool.
I wanted to know, because I think the larger alliances. So I think the Byebye Bitches,
Yeah.
which is a great alliance name.
Yeah.
We kind of saw you guys form. Do you think you formed as a response to family style, or do you think you were already gravitating towards those people, and the fact that there was another alliance kind of like accelerated that alliance and then added on to, adding Red, adding Heis, some people who were the outsiders, I'll say, or the outcasts on the other side of the house?
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't even know about the name, the family style. Now, I knew that Riley, Matt, Jag, Blue, America, I knew they were in a line, Cameron. Now, Corey, I don't think at that time was actually truly aligned. Jared, they were kind of outside on the inside. So they were feeding information to a lot of different people, but everybody kind of kept them on the outside of these alliances for whatever reason. We formed the Byebye Bitches actually just sitting in the house one day, me, Sari, Izzy, Bowie Jane, and Mimi, because we all kind of got along, particularly after Kirsten left. And we had said, females have never been able to stick together and form an alliance and carry it to the end. We always get caught up, and the next thing you know, there's a showmance, and then whoever's in the showmance can't let go of the guy that they're with. And we said if the females could ever stick together, we really could probably move forward. And so we were looking up at the walls one day, and Byebye Bitches was one of the signs that was on the wall. And that's how we really came up with that. And then I don't know what made them decide to, at some point we decided, now in my head, so this was unbeknownst to me, the professors was separate from the Byebye Bitches. I never looked at them as a add-on to the Byebye Bitches. We were going to just be all females. And then we said, well, I guess we could do Heis and Red and have this 7-person alliance, but they were never an extension of the Byebye Bitches. That was something that was supposed to be completely different in my mind.
Which is why you were okay with like letting them go later on, because to you it was the Byebye Bitches.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, obviously, you guys are aligned with Heisem, and Heisem does win the next HOH. And he ultimately, he's going to put up Riley and Cam, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. But just to crush it down, just through Felicia's journey, there's Heisem. He's going around kind of like making deals with other people. You guys are kind of feeling a little iffy about like how wild Heisem's playing at point. You want to talk about how you guys' mindset was going in there, because it seemed like you guys came in wanting to work with Heisem and kind of came out and it was like we got to get Heisem out of here next week. So what was your perspective, Felicia, with all that?
Heisem was probably, if not the first or second person that I actually held a conversation with in the house, standing over by where the wall was where the pictures go, and the nominee wall. And he genuinely was a nice guy. He really was. He was humorous. He kept you laughing all day long. He had big personality. And so I was drawn to him right off the bat. So in that first couple of weeks, we actually really gained a connection with each other. But when Heisem is another one that went in too hard. Winning the HOH and then winning the veto and then just coming on so strong. And all of a sudden, somebody made one comment, Cameron, let him know that Riley had called out his name. And from there, he took offense. And then it was like he went on this rampage. And Riley got to go, and then Matt's got to go in this. And he went so strong. And I guess where I got offended with Heisem was, he was one of those where he'd ask you a question before you could even get your mouth open to answer. He's like, yeah, right. Well, here's what I think. And so you'd always be sitting there like, okay, well, you didn't really care what I thought because you already have the answer. And so but that's how he was with everybody. And everybody started picking up on that. And then the week that I won HOH after him, he insisted that I put up Matt. And at that point, I didn't really see Matt as a threat. And I knew Matt was disheartened because Riley had gotten put out. But my bigger something with Matt is I had a heart for him with the deaf community. And I felt like he could open doors for a whole another realm of people where CBS, NBC, all these other, they've never really learned how to maneuver through a show with a deaf person. And we saw it in the first couple of challenges where he was at a disadvantage. And so in my head, I'm thinking, now you guys brought him on here knowing he was deaf, and you haven't figured out how to accommodate him for that. That's not right. So I want him to stay just so you can figure out how to do this for people going forward. Because I think you have a whole audience of people, you have a whole nother demographic of people that can now have exposure to this type of reality stuff if you figure out how to work with them. And that's why I didn't want to put Matt up. Heis insisted on it. And when I was, he had everybody, you got to put up Matt, you got to put up Matt. So Izzy's telling me, Cerie's telling me, everybody's telling me, Heis wants you, he's mad because you want, and I was like, okay, you're starting to get on my nerves because you act like now you're trying to tell me what to do. And that's when I was like, well, since the house is all in one accord and thinking Heis was becoming kind of bullheaded, we just gonna get rid of Heis and we gonna blindside him. And I was excited to make the first big move of the game.
Now, were you guys worried about like, all right, like this guy obviously can win comps. If we get rid of him, like who's gonna win this stuff for us? Were you guys worried about that? Or are you guys just like, let's just live in the now? Like, let's just get him out of here and worry about the other stuff later. Like what was going on there?
It was kind of a combination of both because we knew if Heis was there, he was always going to be a blocker for the rest of us because he would be the target that everybody would go after. And we also knew he could win cons. But what we weren't sure of is because we started hearing that Heis didn't really want to be aligned with us. Heis wanted to be on the Riley side of the house. He wanted to be on the side that he considered to be the strong competitors. So we weren't sure if and when Heis would ever flip the script on us and decide that he didn't have no use for us, and then he kept winning HOHs and put us on the block. And so that was also well, as long as he stays with us, that's good. But the minute he goes against us, and clearly he shows what he does when he goes against you, then we have a problem. So maybe it's better right now while we have the opportunity to take him out and he would never suspect it. Let's just get rid of him now and we'll have to worry about the rest later.
Okay.
I think it's funny. Well, like we saw this a little bit with Riley, but Heis, I think there's like a precedence where you guys start to flip the vote and start figuring out, do we want to vote this person out in reality? So tell me, what was your mindset when those conversations would arise within your groups? Because you guys went back and forth, mainly more so Izzy and Cerie, but you guys would go back and forth a lot. So what was that like for you?
This was the most non-committal group of 16 people that I've ever seen. I kept saying, can somebody make a daggone decision and just stick with it? We just keep going back and forth. And the minute you think, okay, we're good, then somebody comes and says something to make you say, oh, Lord. And that's what happened literally almost every week. You saw this vote do this. 1 minute, this person going home, and the next minute, like I said, one person's wrong statement, wrong alliance, wrong conversation, and everything flips. Because a part of me, honestly, wanted to keep Riley. Why? Because I realized that Riley, I believe, didn't really want me to go home. I knew I wasn't her target. Now, like you said, initially, she probably wouldn't have even put me up, but Cerie, saving Jared, gave her that thought. Well, Miss Felicia, we don't really want her to go, but you don't want to put Jared up. And then Corey told her he would never put her up. So then all of a sudden, bam, there I am. And so it was one of those things where every week you had to think about, okay, is this the right choice? We're saying we want Riley to go, but what if we do a ride with Riley and them? But then you have to think about, okay, we can't have the whole house aligned because somebody got to go every week. And so we knew that if we jump on the side with Riley and them, now you have what, 8, 9, 10 people, that ain't going to work. And so we realized she had a lot of influence over the Matt, Jag, and Blue. And we knew as long as she was there, you would never be able to penetrate that. So We figured if we made her go away, we could lessen their power in the house.
I want to talk about Cameron's involvement because Cameron was a part of Family Style-ish. It's very complicated, that scenario. And then we see during Heisom's HOH and your HOH him like switch over and try to be a part of the professors and even claim to be a part of the professors, even though I feel like there was no real integration or at least decision to really include him. So how did you feel about how he was playing in terms of flipping back and forth and then coming during your HOH and then you putting him up and stuff like that? I'm very interested to hear about that dynamic.
Well, that Heisom, Cameron's behavior the first 2 weeks was really his downfall. When he flipped on Riley, now, again, here's where people make a mistake. You come in talking about, oh, he's part of that group. Oh, I love Riley like a daughter, I all of that kind of crazy. And then in less than a week, you're throwing her under the bus. And you're willing to come to the other side saying she's too emotional. That's a sinking ship. And so this girl that you say you love like a daughter and you would never want anybody to hurt her, you go to Heisom and feed him the information that makes him chase her and decide he needs to get rid of her. So it let you know right off the bat, you cannot trust Cameron. And Cameron, after that, never had the trust of anybody in the house. His mistake was turning on Riley the minute things got rough and throwing her under the bus. He never gained trust from anybody. Even when he came to our side, he was there because they basically came downstairs and said, oh, by the way, Cameron's part of us now. And everybody's sitting there like, well, that was another Heisom move. Don't you think you need to ask us since we all supposed to be part of this alliance? They never asked, they just told us. So then when that happened, it was a turnoff. And so even though they brought him in, nobody really felt like he was really a part of the group. And we was all trying to figure out how we was going to get rid of him. Because we knew if he did that to her and he loved her like a daughter, he was certainly going to get rid of everybody else the minute he felt like he needed to.
All right. So obviously Riley's out of here. This is your week. You're the first person, the first woman this season so far to win a competition. We had this the Nether Gorgon and all that stuff. I have a sound clip from after you won the HOH. I've been using all season. It was just fun.
Yeah. You ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet.
I'm mad at myself because I should have won more than one competition. There were so many competitions where I came close, or on the backside, it was like, oh, Felicia, why didn't you just... But it is what it is. But I was so excited when I won that first HOH. It was like, oh my God, week 3, particularly after having been on the block week 1. So showing that I am a force to be reckoned with in my own mind. I was ecstatic because I felt like I had redeemed myself.
So I want you to walk us through what was going through your mind with the HOH. You're obviously putting up Jag, you're putting up Cam, and then obviously the
great choices
side on Heisom. It's crazy. Looking back at it, you put all the compies. It's crazy not looking back at it, but like walk us through your HOH myself. What's going on there?
Well, honestly, I could have gotten rid of. I put Cameron and Jag up. I told Cameron he was a pawn. I told Jag he was a pawn. Either one of them could have left, and I was okay with that. If Heisom had played veto and won, we probably would have voted out Cameron. Cameron probably would have been gone week 3 instead of Heisom. If Cameron had won and brought himself down, which he did, we knew we were going to put up Heisom, and then Heisom goes. If Jag had not won or had won, Heisom would have gone up, and we probably still would have sent home Heisom. So either way, though, I had already had in my head that I thought the 3 biggest targets at that point, week 3, was Jag, Cameron, and Heisom. Cameron, because we didn't trust him. Heisen because he was just so bodacious where you couldn't get a word in, and Jag because we knew he was the next biggest threat under Riley on that side of the house in that alliance, and we knew if we had chopped him off at the knees, there was no that side of the house.
Good call.
Yeah.
Because we haven't spoken about your alliances in a while, and obviously like you're close to a lot of these people. At this point, how is it like seen and the structure wise? Like, who is there like a set leader for these groups that you're in right now, or is it just like kind of like equal with like a bunch of different connections? Because and you could tell me if I'm wrong. I remember watching your IG live with Nicole, and I think you said something like, me and Nicole weren't really close at first, but like that's something that grew, with time. Like, who were you close with to the point where you're like, I want to go to the end with this person at this point in the game?
I actually really thought my strongest connection was Sari. Like I said, we connected on day one, and she seemed so sincere and genuine. She said, look, the two of us, the two African-American senior moms in the house, she said, if we stick together and form a final two, she said, if you trust me, I trust you, she said, and I will never, ever put you up. She said, I got your back if you got my back. And we shook on that, and I trusted that wholeheartedly. We looked each other in the eye, and I was with that. Jared, I actually had a connection with him because he reminded me so much of my son. My son's birthday is the 2nd. His, I think, is the 5th. And so and everything, his demeanor, his dress, all of that, he just reminded me so much of Jair. So it almost felt like I had a son in the house. Now, little did I realize that every time I said anything to him with regards to, oh, son, I was irritating Sari. Of course, I'm not knowing that. But I think she felt like I was getting too close to Jared with her being right there in the house. That was part of the problem, unbeknownst to me. I felt close to Izzy, but I knew that Izzy was enthralled with Sari and she idolized Sari. So I knew that Izzy had a much closer relationship to Sari than me from her perspective. What I didn't realize is that Sari had a closer relationship to Izzy than she did with me. I was trusting that our conversation was a genuine one. And I realized, again, when me and Izzy landed on the block, I realized that there was never anything genuine with us. And that was when, I have to be honest and say my feelings was hurt because I was thinking, oh, okay, Felicia, you just got played. Now, did I still stay with her through the course of the season? Yes, because I still really liked Sari. I thought she was a good person. I realized that it was game, Izzy, and I knew Izzy was sniffing her everywhere she went. We used to laugh at Bowie Jane because Bowie Jane was chasing her around the house initially too. Where's Sari? Where's Izzy? But I was never a chaser. I just, when I was trying to get to know everybody in the house and figure out what roles people played, who was really connected to who. So I didn't want to actually just enthrall myself and just say the only people I can talk to is Sari, Izzy, and Jared. Because I realized now that I'm home watching live feeds, my husband recorded everything. Did you see? You didn't know that. So he's telling me all the backstabbing that was going on. And I realized that I didn't know half of what was going on because they were playing me. And I was really trusting. I was trusting what I thought was a genuine relationship and alliance.
Well, I mean, I will say on the outside, like I think your winner equity like skyrocketed within these last 2 weeks because no one was even like, no one was on bad terms with you. Everyone was kind of like rocking with you a little bit. Obviously, some things kind of changed a little bit later. But like everyone was like, like especially with this H choice, they're like, Felicia could possibly win this, and like I'll be lying if I was like, I'm not sure if Josie was telling me I was wrong plenty of times. I was like, I don't know if Felicia can win this. Like she was a believer. So I was like, I started to see it around this time. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead, Josie. I see you were about to say something.
I was gonna say, you were talking about how you and your family kind of establish who you think is gonna win every season. We do the same thing. We do our drafts, and you're on my draft. So since day one, I've been Team Felicia Cannon every single day. So it was really fun to see your HOH. I think you had the best HOH, honestly, with the seasoning to the dancing, and there were so many edits. I really hope you've seen those edits. We have there's someone named Rayshawn on Twitter who absolutely adores you and was making edits. So it was by far the funnest time of the house. But I wanted to go back to after Jag won veto. You put up Heisem, and there was maybe a little bit of back and forth on whether or not you should keep Heisem or not. What was your stance throughout the days after Heisem was put on the block? Because he did have some convincing arguments, at least from my perspective.
A part of me, like I said, I genuinely liked Heisem. He was fun-natured. He brought a lot of personality to the house. He really did. And so a part of me said, maybe we should keep him. Maybe we should get rid of Jag, because we knew that Jag had a strong leadership role with the Matt and Blue and Corey in America. And so it was considered, but when we found out that Heisem was basically making alliances with everybody in the house, and then even after because he was mad the first couple of days, and I even said, I know, talk to me, let's go upstairs. And that's when I told him, I said, Heisem, man, I said, you were the one that was telling us we have to stay connected. We got to tell everybody everything. I said, and then you go behind us and you're aligned with the whole daggone house. I said, and then you're still, even after we put him on the block, he's still bad mouthing everybody and still talking smack. And we just said, no, he got to go, because he doesn't know when to just shut up and leave it alone. It's probably if Heisem had gotten quiet and stopped talking, Jag could have easily been the one to go home. But Heisem pushed too hard, and he kept going in and still telling lies to people, pulling people in rooms, making promises that he couldn't keep. And that really was his downfall. He didn't know how to be quiet. He really sunk his own ship the week he was on the block.
Now, definitely on his way out, like it seemed like he was like, like I don't know, I don't know, at least as a viewer, how he truly felt until like obviously he got outside the house. Did you guys have a feeling that like he will hold a grudge outside the house, or is it like, are you guys good? I guess that's more so the real question.
We are. When I saw him on finale night, he was one of the people I really, really, really wanted to see.
Okay.
And, we kept saying, I hope Heisem isn't, because I wasn't sure. We weren't sure if he was really going to hold a grudge or not, because he was angry when he left. He really was. I had so much fun with him on the back end. I hugged him so tight, and we laughed. And when I go to Seattle, he's from my hometown. When I go to Tacoma, Seattle, I'm going to go connect with Heisem, because I love Heisem to death. I really do. He's a great guy. Great personality, so much fun. And he realized where he had messed up. He even, when he got out and he said, yeah, I blew it. I messed my own game up. He knew what he had done. But he kept trying until he went out the door.
Real quick, but before we even continue with the game, I keep getting these questions in the chat, so I'm just going to ask it. Sorry, this is off topic. They want to know, have you heard the fucking Bowie Jane song? Have you heard it at this point?
I have. On finale night, Izzy's like, oh my God, there's a video out. She said, a whole video on you. I said, there is. She's like, and she pulled it up and showed it to me. And it's like, oh my God. I have it saved to my phone. Yes, I've seen it.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay.
No, the people wanted to know it was a big song. It was a hit in the Twitter streets.
I heard. I said, I wish I could take that and trademark it so nobody
can. We're still good with time, right?
Yes.
All right, this is basically a deep dive at this point, so let's keep it going. All right, so Heisem's gone. So we're going to the next week. This is an interesting week because I'm pretty sure this is our pressure cooker week. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Cameron HOH, yes.
So even before we even get into like the strategy, I mean, for us, we've wanted pressure cooker for years, right? And like you guys finally got to do it. What was going through your minds going through it? Because obviously, like you guys weren't like you, Izzy, Felicia. You, Izzy, Suri, Jared. You guys weren't there too long, but like you guys are in the house ranting, like talking all this stuff. Run the whole thing to me, because like it was so funny to watch you like in the house on the couch eating while everyone's like this competition.
You know, when I realized I wasn't going to play when they said it was the pressure cooker, honestly, I was like, yeah. Now, it felt awkward being in the house literally by myself for the first, hour or so. It was like, so I'm in the kitchen, I'm like bored, and I go in there and I'm going to start cleaning. And they said, Felicia, for production, we really need you to sit on the couch for a little while and watch. Oh, okay. Because I was going to fix me some food and sit on the couch. And then I have to say, though, I was actually shocked that Jared and then Sheree and then Izzy, when the fourth, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. Are you guys serious? I was like, what are you? But again, I wasn't in there, so what can I say? But they said it was freezing, just all the stuff that was. So for them to have lasted, Mimi and America and Cameron, 14 hours, that was huge. I applaud them, because I know I wouldn't have lasted that long, because I probably would not have been dressed, because they didn't tell us how to dress. Some people went in there half dressed and they froze their behinds off. So it wasn't, it's something they've been waiting for a long time, but they stepped it up a notch, and just all the different things they had going on, even with it already being cold air. Then they had released flies, and they had the snakes in that thing. And I think those guys were actually all afraid that they were going to release the snakes in the room. And we all kept thinking, there's no way they'd do that. They couldn't possibly do that.
Turn a fear factor at that point.
Okay.
Expect the unexpected.
And that's why we kept thinking, well, we don't really know what they're going to do. But we kept thinking, but what if somebody gets hurt? But that's a lot of liability. But you just still never know. So all of that stress, and all it takes is one slight unfocused, and there goes the hands. And that's how people just kept missing, falling out.
Now, one thing, you guys are inside for like the first portion before more people come in. It's so funny watching you guys like root for Nicole openly and all this stuff. But I remember it was like you, Suri, Izzy, and Jared. You guys are all in the house, and like I don't know about you, but like the other two are like kind of like on Jared's back the whole time, and Jared's like, no, like I knew this information, but like I held it, and it's like kind of like imploding, but it's not at the same time. What for you was like seeing this dynamic? Obviously, you didn't know they were related, but like you see how like deep this is getting. Was like, did that like ring anything for you, or you're just like they just too close?
I don't know how I missed it. I was thinking that they were just caught up in the moment, being inside of there, and she's mad at him, he's mad at her, and we're all just mad because the alliance is going down fast, and we're thinking, how did we mess that up? Where all of us, the four people that we thought could hang in there a pretty good amount of time, we're out here on the outside. And so it was, now there's some stuff that happened behind the scenes, and I ain't gonna tell it because I promised I wouldn't tell it. But there was, when they were in there, remember they said that they couldn't leave to go to the bathroom until 3 people went out, 2 people went out, 3 people went out. So that's where I'm gonna lead at. There was some stuff that happened. And one person covered for somebody else, and I thought it was actually kind of bad in even forcing people to kind of do that kind of something where, if you got to go, like, I don't know if you guys remember later in the pressure cooker where they were actually urinating in the room on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I that's where I actually thought that maybe it went a little bit too far, because for one, and I don't want to be, guys can use the bathroom standing up. Girls can't. And so we thought, what if a female really had to go to the bathroom? What were they supposed to do?
Right.
So it was kind of quirky. I thought, now sometimes you carry stuff a little bit too far, because that's actually just kind of nasty and unsanitary.
Right. Listen, I'm not gonna get you in trouble, but listen, I feel that wholeheartedly. So Cam is a HOH.
Oh.
Mind blowing at the time because everyone's like, "Yo, Cam gotta go."
And we were
Cam,
so mad because we know Cam talked America into raising her hand. We know he did.
Yeah.
When Mimi went, when Mimi went out or went over to the side, we knew Cam said something to America. He told her, he promised her he wouldn't put her up. She was probably tired, and she's like, okay, as long as he's not gonna put me up and I don't have to be a pawn, let's go. And we were so mad at America because there was no way she stood there for 14 hours and all of a sudden, when we watched, it was like all of a sudden you just saw her do, it was like, what are you doing? Crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Her and him and Red, like they're going from like, all right, I'm in the majority alliance, and now they're like throwing these people on her. But everyone's like, let's get these two out of here. Obviously, Cam's in power. He thinks he's in the professors or whatever. We're gonna see him put up Blue and Jag. We're going to see Red win the veto, and basically before we even get to the twist, which I want to see how you feel about that. Jag does get eliminated, but going into like his nominations, like any events alliance wise this week, like is there anything super important for you that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, it really was a back and forth on this one. Is it Jag? Is it Blue? Is it Jag? Is it Blue? Because Blue at that time really hadn't truly connected with too many people. She really was kind of riding under Matt and Jag. Jag really was the target because we realized he was the stronger player, the more leadership role he was playing with that side of the house. But again, Jag was very persuasive. Jag was a better communicator, a better manipulator. So, he gave you very good reasons why he should stay. And again, I like Jag because I had actually started talking with Jag from week one. Never really had anything against him. And it was really kind of surprising how on like day 2, the house just became divided. And we're like, how did this happen so fast? And it's like, we don't even really know if the people that we're aligned with are people that we are even going to like and get along with. And I actually had started building a connection with Jag at that point. But we knew that our thinking again was, you got rid of Riley. If you get rid of Jag, now we got Matt. We got Blue because they don't have nowhere to go. They're not going to take a leadership role, and without him, they can't do nothing.
And ultimately, it's interesting even to talk about this because this is the first time 57 minutes in we're even mentioning Jag and Matt, who end up going final 2. So, like, where do they even enter the picture fully? Like, I know you guys already said that you guys saw like Jag as a part of like a certain side. What was Matt for you guys in this point as a player?
Matt initially, because of his connection to Riley and because of the hearing, you could tell the first few weeks in the house, Matt really struggled to be a part of conversation. So the perception was in the beginning that Matt really just, a lot of times conversations were held with Riley and Jag because Riley and Jag had the final 2 at the very. Matt wasn't a part of that final 2. It was Riley and Jag. Matt was just somebody that Riley had an attraction to, her as well, but they didn't have a final 2 something. It was Riley and Jag. So we knew when Riley left that Jag was going to connect with somebody. And at that point, we actually still thought he was more connected to Blue than Matt. Matt was just somebody where they held conversations. When there was a large group of people, they'd come back and just tell Matt what was going on, and he would just say, okay. That was the perception of Matt's role for probably the first month or so in the house. That Matt was just whatever Matt was in probably every dang alliance in the house dang near. Because everybody just saw Matt as the nice guy that just listens and you tell him what to do and he's okay.
Interesting. And also, I wanted to highlight just for future events that we're going to bring up. Like this is also kind of like the start of the Felicia Bowie and sort of Sari rivalry too. Like Bowie kind of feeling some type of way towards you two, because like, you know, she was so ride or die with like this whole professors thing, and she's starting to feel left out a little bit. But obviously, you're like, I don't know if I trust Bowie. Like, you know, fucking Bowie Jane. Like, what's in your mind, your perception with that as well?
Well, my problem with Bowie Jane is I liked Bowie Jane, and I actually trusted her in the beginning, probably more than Sari and Izzy. Izzy and her never
Mm.
connected. Sari was kind of iffy, and I kept thinking, nah, I think Bowie Jane is okay. And I don't know what kept making me feel like that, but I just did. But I was watching her though, and I was watching how she was connected with Red. And so I knew there was a sidebar, something going on, and I knew that Red was really connected to Cameron, and we started seeing Bowie Jane migrating with them a little more off to the side, and then it's like, we got to keep our eye on Bowie Jane. She's saying she's with us with these Byebye B's, but I believe she got something going on here too, because she doesn't want anybody to know that she's aligned with any. Even when she was part of the professors, she was still trying to act like she was a floater and she wasn't aligned with anybody. And she was comfortable with that position, and so was Red. And so that's when we said, so they want to play it in the middle and don't want anybody to think they're aligned with anybody. And that was a problem. They didn't want to show their hand.
Got it. All right. So Jag's out of here. But then Julie comes on the TV. Oh, actually, we're resetting everything. We're canceling the eviction. He's still here.
Yeah.
Like me, I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know,
Yeah.
but like, how is it for you? Because like, wow.
We were upset that that's the path to power. That's where Matt made his first big mistake. It's like, but in his mind, honestly, if Jag had left, Matt probably wouldn't have lasted as long as he did. I do believe that.
Yeah.
So Jag was the front for Matt. He became the buffer because people were always going to go after Jag before they went after Matt until closer to the end. And so we knew that twist was going to cause chaos, and it did. And, you know, Jag got saved, it seems like a couple of times where he should have been out. Next thing you know, it's like, how does this keep happening? And so between him and then the Jared and Cameron, it was like, okay, 3 people have gotten evicted and they're still here. What is going on? When we gonna get rid of some folk? Nobody was really, although honestly, I have to say, for some reason, when Jag came back, that was when my relationship with Jag really kind of started shifting, and I started communicating with Jag a lot more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, would you say? Oh, go, Josie. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it's interesting because when someone gets evicted, I feel like usually, and they come back, they usually come right around and they get evicted once again. But then we saw Jared win HOH, and then put Cameron in Red. Did you want to evict Jag once more, or were you okay with Cameron and Red going up because you didn't really have a good rapport with Cameron because he wasn't even supposed to be in the alliance and there was no trust there? And, you had just mentioned how Red just kind of wanted to play the middle and it didn't feel like there was entire loyalty to you. So was that okay for you at the time, or did you really want to put Jag out again?
It was kind of a toss-up, but we had talked and felt like because Cameron and Red were so tight, and we realized they had almost become the Heisem, a pair of Heisems. And so we said, if we don't break up that pair, they will gain too much power in the house. And so you start looking at who's actually acting like they, that Legends 25. Cameron always felt like he was fighting for his life and everybody just used him. They got up there with that Legend 25 and they started telling everybody what to do and how to act and all of that. And they became very arrogant. And so when Jared made HOH, it was like, if you put up one, you got to put up the other, because otherwise one of them wins veto and they take the other one down and now you didn't gain anything. And so we said, you put up one, and if one comes down, you put Jag up, but you send the other one home. Now we almost flipped. And when Cameron came down, they almost put up, they put up Jag, and we almost let Jag stay in the house. In fact, The vote was for Jag to stay until Izzy and Sari, and I realized they played me on the back end on this one too, came and told me that Red had made this comment about me and I needed to go because they really wanted Red to go. And I had moved more towards, let's get rid of Jag. We already know Jag's going to be a mess. And Cameron and Red had done this separation. But the more I looked and watched, and I know I'm still got to go back and watch some stuff, but I do believe that Jared probably either misunderstood the statement that Cam made to him or he completely lied about the statement that Cam made to him. And so when Red wanted to talk with Cameron in the room with Jared and he refused to do that, then I knew there was more there than meets the eye. And so in order for Jared to be safe, now he had to make Red go. He really did. Because otherwise Red was going to find out what really happened.
All right. So obviously elimination's canceled. I will say sidebar, like, oh my god, they made him stand outside all of the entire time just to cancel his HOH is crazy. But I've been tight. But so Jared wins HOH. And he's going to put up originally Cam, and he's going to put up so sorry, where am I getting my names wrong?
Cameron and Red.
Thank you. I'm like mind blown for a second. Cameron and Red. So these two are on the block. Jared, obviously you're working with him in some capacity. How are you feeling? Because I mean, obviously later on, we start to find out that you feel some type of way that like Izzy and Sari are like changing plans every week, and you guys aren't finding out to the last second. So like, how are you feeling about stuff like this?
Well, this is when I first started sensing that something was shifting, and that, because this is after Sari had that conversation upstairs and I had told Jared about it. And then after that, I became their target, unbeknownst to me. But I knew something had shifted in my relationship with Jared. I felt it. I also felt that something that shifted with Sari. But I think Jared wasn't going to be bodacious enough to put me on the block. I don't think he ever would have done that. So I still felt comfortable that week. He was still talking to me that week. I was going up and talking to him in the HOH. I even went up there and talked to him a couple times without Sari. And I don't know if he was saying stuff to me and making her believe something else, because she felt like he never even considered wanting Jag to go, and Jared sat in the room and told me he never trusted Jag, and he was really debating on whether Jag should be the one to go. He really wanted Jag to go. Sari wanted Red to go. And so, of course, he was always going to do what his mom wanted. So that, his game became very conflicting for him, because a lot of times he couldn't do what he really wanted to do, because he still had to worry about what position it put him in with his mom and then her safety as well. So it was a dynamic that he had that nobody realized he had.
And you eventually at some point, like you kind of offer him a final two, because you and Sari, you guys are kind of locked in. You're like, I ain't feeling this thing. We're like, I'm gonna go with Jared, and you offered him, and that becomes more relevant the week after, of course,
right,
with the whole blow up. But that just something to point out. But so Jared, he's putting up these two. Cam obviously wins another competition, shocker. And we're going to see Jag throwing up on the block. Now, as you were just talking about, Jag and Red, like this is the week Red leaves, but there were some conflicting like opinions on who should leave and who should stay at this point. You want to walk me through that?
So initially it was Red. Initially it was Jag. And I remember sitting upstairs in the game room with Cameron, and Jag walked by and he said, "That's who's going this week." And I said, "Absolutely." And so I was on board with Jag leaving at the very beginning, even though he had put Cameron and Red up. After Jag got backdoored, we said, well, if Jag got backdoored, we voted him out 10-0 last week. Let's just get him gone. Then the conversation about what had happened, and Red and just other stuff started transpiring. And then, we had shifted to red. I'd had a conversation with Corey. Well, Corey didn't like red because red didn't like America. So Corey and them wanted red to go. I was still thinking, we had gone from Jag to red, and they didn't want to do red. They didn't want to do Jag. They wanted to do red. And so then Mimi comes to me off of some conversation she had and said, "Oh, I think we're in trouble because I was just in the kitchen, the bathroom, and Jag and them, they have an alliance." And we're like, "Oh, Lord." So that's when we flipped back to back to Jag. And then I got it that morning, or in my head, we were flipping back to Jag, and I got it that morning, and I run in Serena in them's room, 6 o'clock in the morning. "You guys, I think we might need to flip the vote." Stupid. And that was my mistake because Bowie Jane heard it, and I think she got paranoid, said something to Red, and I honestly believe that that's when Red then got paranoid, but I convinced Sari and Izzy to go back to Jag and get rid of Jag. But little did I know they never really wanted to do that. They wanted red. And again, I was comfortable with red because I was like, Jared put up Red and Cameron and said, if one doesn't go, the other one goes. And so if he lets both of them come down off the block, it really was a wasted HOH with regards to him, because now he just pissed both of them off and both of them are staying in the house. And so I think that was probably Cerie's something too. She's thinking, now he put both of them up. Initially, one came down, but if both of them end up coming down, they're going to come after him next. That's what I think they really felt. So then they came to me an hour and a half before the vote, Cerie and Izzy, and they say, "I think we might have a problem because I think that Red wants you gone. He's saying Felicia's becoming a liability." Now, I never to this day still don't know what it is that I said or did that made Red make that statement. Have no idea. Nobody ever told me. So I don't know if it was something that was just said, that was made up, that was a lie. Bowie Jane also told me that he made that statement, but she never told me what the statement was about. So I don't know. But in the end, we ended up voting out Red.
Well, I can confirm that Red was targeting you towards the end of the week. So it was good that he was ultimately evicted. But there was a lot of conversations about Red and Cameron and targeting you, which I thought was very interesting because Cameron then won HOH the week after, so it was a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
As a fan of the Byebye Bitches and the Professors, so.
And again, it's funny. Well, I knew after that Cameron was going to be mad because he felt like we sit home, and he blamed me for the rest of the season for Red going home. He put all of that on me, but I know that was based off conversations with Cerie and Jared. They made him believe that I was the reason why we voted out Red, and what he never knew was that it was them.
And it's crazy because on the internet, like he was on TikTok and stuff, he actually blamed Cam for him getting out. So it's crazy, full circle. MC also brings something up. I'm like, all right, so maybe this is also another thing that Red probably felt a type of way. I don't know if you remember this, but so you actually, I honestly, I think it was a mistake. You accidentally said that Red to take his cupcake home with him, and he was like, "Wait, what does that mean?"
Right. And I wasn't even, I'm looking at the cupcake and I'm thinking, you taking the cupcake home with you? Why you got the cupcake in here? And as soon as I said it, I realized, oh, Lord. See, you get so comfortable and you like it's a done deal, and then you see little things and you say something before you even realize. So yeah, I knew that had irritated him. So probably when I said you're taking your cupcake home, he's like, oh, so she think I'm going? Oh, next week I'm gonna send her home and take her own cupcake home.
Oh man. All right. So Red is sent home. And we have our next HOH for week 6. This is a pretty big week for you and everyone else in the game because obviously, like I said, this is a focus for you. But on the bag behind the scenes, Corey's got a lot of crap going on. Cerie's got a whole lot. There's a whole lot of mess going on in the game.
There was a whole lot of mess that I didn't even realize. And honestly, now I knew all along Cam wanted Izzy gone. I knew that. But I didn't realize the rest of the house was saying, get rid of Felicia. I did not know that. And it was like, wow, what did I do that made everybody all of a sudden say, get rid of Felicia? And I was shocked by that. But I have to applaud. Now, this is why I have to applaud Cam. Because Cam came to me sitting on the couch and said, I know you might be comfortable in thinking that Izzy's going home, but right now, you're the target. You need to get up and start talking to some people. And I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Oh man. So let's talk about it. So this is the first time the entire season so far that your side is like in the mud. Like you guys are not in power.
In the trenches.
Unfortunately, Jared wins HOH next week, and we'll get to that soon. But after this week, like it goes downhill for you guys. Like
downhill.
So bad.
Everybody just attacked everybody.
So he's gonna put you and Izzy up because obviously him and Izzy have this thing going on, and you just kind of catch a stray. I'm gonna be real with you. And they were like, oh, she's on that side, so let's put her up too. Yeah. And Civil War. This is like a lot of in-group fighting is happening here because obviously Izzy is a part of the field because she knows the secret. So Izzy naturally is so close with Jared and Cerie because she's a part of this group. She knows the secret. Boom. So those two are automatically trying to save Izzy. But the Jared and Cerie are also very close to you, and they're forced in a situation where they got to pick a side. They obviously can't tell you guys the reason why. So it gets a little tricky. Obviously there's like Jared, he's getting close with Blue. There's something going on there. Corey in America, they're becoming a thing. Like all these people are just getting close, and you're obviously finding out that like they're throwing you under the bus, and you're thinking that you're going to be safe at first, and you're like, wait, they're trying to send me home. So obviously I can go on and on, but this is for you. I want to know what was going on in your mind during all this craziness, and what happened in your perspective going towards the Jared and Corey blow up.
Well, so again, initially I was frustrated that I was put on the block that week by Cam. That really did shock me. That came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting him to put me on the block. I knew he didn't care for Izzy, but I had no idea that he was targeting me along with Izzy. That he really wanted me, Cerie, and Izzy. So he had bundled me in the me, Cerie, and Izzy. And he kept calling me and Cerie the mamas. And really, Cerie really was the one that was kind of manipulating and running the house because she had Jared feeding her information from Corey feeding Izzy information. I'm feeding her information.
Matt too.
She's getting everything, and that's how she has the ability to play everybody. I didn't realize that. And so I think when initially, again, thinking that it was Izzy and then finding out that it really was me, then I start talking to people more and more and realizing that I am the threat. I am the target. I realized I had some work to do, but I just said, Felicia, you stay calm. Don't do anything crazy, because I also knew that Izzy was a very emotional player. And I was really banking on the fact that I figured Izzy would say or do something that was going to cause havoc to send her home. I was trusting on that, and it worked. I just said, come on, God, I don't know how I'm going to stay here this week, but I know you're going to keep me in this house. I just got to let Izzy do Izzy and send herself home. And that's exactly what happened.
So, Jared and Corey, like they're throwing all their business out. All these alliances are being exposed. Were you? I don't remember if you were in the. I don't think you were in the room during this. So
I wasn't in the
like,
room, but I
okay,
watched it this past week. I haven't watched the whole season yet, but I've watched as far as the week that I went home and the week after. And that's when I realized that really it wasn't, Corey didn't do too much wrong. Jared got caught in lies. Jared did a whole lot of lying. He lied and told Matt that Jag had come to him when Jag had not come to him. And then when he got in the room, when Corey started talking about these alliances, and he's like, "What are you talking about? The professors? Who's that?" And so and the for real. And so then Jared got caught in the middle of all of this stuff, and then he's sitting in the room and didn't know how to back out of it. And that's why Sari was pissed, because she's like, "I told you to go find out information. I didn't tell you to go up there and start World War III." And so he went. That one little lie that he told on Jag, see, that's what I'm saying. When you try to pin a lie on somebody and they aren't aware of the lie, that is always going to backfire. You got to at least let them know you telling the story.
It was interesting because at first, at least from a live feeder perspective, it was like Jared was winning in the beginning. And it just felt like the more he kept going and going, the worse it got for him. Like, I was like, stop it, please just stop. Like, you were doing so well. And it was very interesting to see. I know there was conversations about like the seven deadly sins. I don't know at that point if that week you were aware of that bigger alliance that did include people that were in the professors and Byebye Bitches. Was that something you had heard, or were you just so focused on the fact that you were on the block and that they were trying to evict you that you didn't maybe catch that at the time?
So was I aware that they had the 7 deadly sins in the Byebye Bitches?
Yeah.
I knew of all these. This is why we laughed. I said, in all the seasons that I have watched Big Brother, I don't think there have ever been as many alliances as there were this season. There were so many alliances. It was hideous. I was part of the Professors, Legends 25, Byebye Bitches, For Real, Brown Sugar Babes, the Bookends. I was in 6 alliances myself. And you know that's ridiculous.
And it's not even including like one-on-one deals. Like it's all over the place, man.
It was crazy. And this is what was going on throughout the house. Everybody just kept trying to do where they felt like they could be safe with everybody. And at some point, people started realizing, well, the whole house is aligned in some way or fashion. And so that's when it just got stupid and it all imploded in that room that day.
Okay. So obviously we weren't able to see the aftermath of the fight because the feed's cut midway through. But what were the conversations like after the fight going into the elimination?
Well, what I found out is that probably up till like 15 minutes before the vote, they were still trying to figure out what the vote was really going to be. Because now I say that it really wasn't, because Matt, Jag, Bowie Jane, Corey, and America had already decided they were keeping me. Sari and Jared were still trying to get them to change their vote. Izzy was still trying to get them to change their vote, but they had already decided that they were keeping me because Corey had gotten so upset and Jag had gotten upset when they realized that Izzy had told Corey about the 7 deadly sins. So when they realized that Izzy was running her mouth, now see, because that was the one thing I didn't do was tell anybody about the alliances. So nobody knew. I didn't go tell. Well, actually, the Legends 25 knew about the Professors because that was the first big alliance, the one side against the other side. But we never told anybody about the Byebye Bitches. We never told anybody about Brown Sugar Babes, and I never told anybody about the Bookends, except for Jared when I said, and I never even gave him the name. I said, you know, I'm supposed to be aligned with Sari, but heck, I'm thinking I'd rather be aligned with you. I said, because I don't like what Sari just did. That was the extent of my conversation with Jared, and never really said, do you want to be in an alliance? I never went that far. And so that's why when he said, you asked me to be in an alliance that day when we fell out, I said, no, I didn't. That is not what I said to you. I said, I'd rather be in an alliance with you than Sari because I didn't like what she did upstairs. I said, and we never talked about it again. I said, so don't sit there and say, I said, Jared, do you want to be in an alliance? Because I didn't do that.
Hmm. Did you feel like it was you against Mimi at that point towards those last like hour, 30 minutes? Because at that point, McCole was always going to ride with you and like protect you and align with you. I think that's when we really saw how solid you two were as a duo. Did you feel almost like it was y'all against the house at that during
I
that week?
did. I did. At that point, the only person I trusted in the house was Mimi. I didn't realize, again, because I was thinking Mimi was the one that wasn't sure and was flaking and didn't realize all along it was Jared and Sari. And when I finally learned that, Mimi said, I don't know why you keep asking me and everybody else keeps asking me. She said, I said from the very beginning, you were getting my vote and I was never going to shift. Now, I saw some stuff, though, that made me where they came to her and said, we want to shift and we want to keep Felicia. And so I realized that if the whole house had voted for Izzy, originally she was probably going to vote with them. But I think after it got so chaotic, she just said, I told Mama Fee I'm giving her my vote. And she's giving me my vote. Stop asking me. And that's when I realized I could trust Mimi. And after that, Mimi became my girl. She really did. And that's why I was really irritated when Cameron put Mimi up on the block with me. It was like, why did you do that? You didn't have to pull her into this because I didn't want to sit on the block next to her. I really didn't.
Okay. All right, so they're sending Izzy out. Izzy's gone. You're still here, and we're gonna go into week one, setting up this zombie twist, and we'll talk more in depth about that in a second. But Jared is HOH. Everyone was like Jared and Sari. If one of them don't win this, like they're done. And Jared gets his HOH. He's going to put up Corey in America. Obviously, the veto was used by Jag. And then to get Corey off the block and Cam is up as a replacement. It seemed like Cam was always the target, like there's just going to be a backdoor. But American and Corey obviously were originally the targets because of the fight. But another week you're not on the block, so that's always good. But you know, you're like, look, I just learned a lot of stuff, you know, and we saw you in Nicole really start locking in this week. You know, you guys made like a final two and everything. Walk me through all that.
So when I realized, because again, it wasn't until that last morning, the day of the nominations, where Matt came to me. He said, because he had come to me twice and said, no, it's not over till it's over. He said, so don't, he said, just keep doing you. Just keep talking to people in the house. And so he had told me that on like Tuesday. Then Wednesday, I really felt the shift again. And I thought, and I think I just said, Felicia, if you go, you go. But something just kept saying, just keep talking, just keep talking, just keep fighting. But don't do anything bizarre. And then Thursday after the lockdown, now usually by the time the lockdown comes, everybody's decided stuff is solid. And that's when, after we came out of the lockdown, Matt asked me, could he talk to me? And he said, I want you to know, he said, it looks like you're going to get the votes. He said, I'm going in there and I'm just going to tell him I'm voting to keep you. He said, I don't even want to mess with this anymore. I'm not. And so dumb me not knowing, Jared comes by and I said, oh my God, Jared, this is so cool. I said, Matt just told me he's voting for me and that it looks like I'm going to get the votes. I said, go in there and find out what's going on. Now, I didn't realize that's what really started all the chaos, because Matt's pissed now because he finds out, what do you mean she's getting the votes? You know, that's when he realized everything had flipped. So I just spilled the beans and didn't even realize it. And so it's like, oh, Lord. And so I think when I finally picked up on what was going on, so the next week when Jared wins HOH again, even though I'm pretending like everything's okay, This is when I went to Jag and I said, tell me what happened. I know I missed something. I go to Cerie, say, tell me what happened. Actually, I don't know that I went to Cerie and said, tell me what happened. I never did after that argument in the room. I just realized that even though I was saying I trusted them, I didn't really trust them anymore. I went to Corey because I had heard that the argument with Jared and Corey upstairs. So I went to Corey and said, tell me what happened in the room. I didn't say, did they? I said, and I just let them tell me what their perspective was on what happened. And this is when I found out that Cerie and Jared had worked so hard for me to go. So then after they had the double eviction, and we had already planned that if there was a double eviction, because you kind of know when they're coming, and we had already decided if there was a double eviction, that no matter who won it outside of Jared and Cerie was going up on the block. The whole house was unanimous with that. Now, I was irritated with Corey when he actually won, and then he put up Jared and Blue, and he didn't put Cerie up. And I even said to Cerie, I said, I was pissed because I'm like, what are you doing? You said you were putting up Jared and Cerie, and you put up Jared and Blue. And Corey's like, Cerie looked at me, she's like, you said that? I said, yeah, because you two were supposed to go on the block. So she was mad at me after that too. But I kind of felt like, you guys threw me under the bus last week. I don't care. You showed me who you are. So now I'm showing you who I am.
And I think that brings me to something I did want to talk about, because you, Cerie, and Jared and Nicole was kind of standing there, got into it in the I forget the room, but like the scary room. Yeah. You guys got into it. And it was so sad to see because I loved you all. So I was like, oh my goodness, not my people fighting, let my people go.
And I'm in there yelling at the whole house could hear us no matter where they were in the house. Yeah. That was our mistake. That was our mistake. And again, I think I did that because I felt attacked because Jared came back in the house with a vengeance. When he came back in, he glared at me. And you're gonna regret this, and how dare you, and blah 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 blah. And he starts, well, I don't even want to talk to you. And I was like, and Cerie followed him, and I followed Cerie. It's like, oh hell no, y'all don't get to act like you mad now. You threw me under the bus last week, and now I'm supposed to be, oh no, save Jared. I said, now you know what that looked like. I said, you don't get to do me like that and then act like you mad now because I did the same thing that you did to me. Why are you mad? What did you expect me to do? And neither one of them could say anything.
That's true. It's interesting because as a viewer, obviously, like your emotions aren't in there, or like you're not experiencing the game. But for me, at least watching it, I was like, okay, well, if they start going after each other, whoever ends up at the end of this, they're going to be vulnerable because they only really have each other. But I understand that, you got betrayed. There was loss of trust, right? So at what point for you was it, okay, let me focus more on how I feel at this moment and how I feel like I have lost trust versus maybe I need these people to survive and win this game? Because it's a little complicated, and sometimes it's hard to see when you don't have the grand picture like the rest of us may have. And even then it's still iffy, right? Because you don't know everything 100%.
I have to say, probably if I had a bad day in the house, it was this day. Because if I thought about it, I would have just said, listen, we're all mad. Let's talk about this later. Would I have done anything different though? No, I probably still would have helped them vote Jared out, because again, once I realized at that point, now a week or two later, after we had all had a chance to calm down and talk and forgive each other, I was back on Jared and Cerie's page again. I really was. I was trying to learn to trust them again. Now, I don't know if they were genuinely back on my page or not, and I'll never know that. Because Jared may have gotten HOH again and might have decided to put me up again. I don't know. Because my husband says that behind the scenes, he was still saying, even after he came in, he was waiting to see if he was going to go. And we having prayer, he said, and he's walking out the room saying, bump all that prayer. I'm a getter. I'm a getter. So I think still, he had never really forgiven me. So even though they felt okay protecting each other as mother and son, and because Izzy knew the secret and Izzy left, and now I helped vote him out, that they had no use for me. But they had to understand I didn't know your secret. And all I knew is that we had a 7 people alliance, a 4 people alliance, a 3 people alliance, and a 2 people alliance. And the very people that I thought I was the closest to in the house are the ones that said, she can go. And so I didn't know what to do with that. So now I really am working week by week, and I really was kind of on my own, me and Mimi, because I realized, because Jared never really did trust Mimi. He never really did have a trust for Mimi, him or Sheree. They were always like, well, do you really think we can do? I said, yes. I keep telling you Mimi is good, but I always had to keep reassuring them that Mimi was good. So I knew at any point, Jared and Sheree, when it became convenient for them, would probably throw me and Mimi under the bus. I felt that.
Ultimately, this is more of a end game thing, but you and Sheree are like talking a lot more throughout the season. But like, do you think that this week, like this day specifically, kind of like carried on for the rest of the season? Is that why like towards the end, like you kind of like wanted to target her probably?
I think it carried on because I still always felt like, regardless, I always got this gut feeling when I knew that Sheree was sabotaging me. I didn't know how, I didn't know to who, but I always knew that when push came to shove, she was going to survive before she let me survive. I knew that if push came to shove and they decided to vote me out, she was going to vote with them, because Sheree always voted with the house. The only time she gave a vote is when she knew there was a sure vote and her one vote wasn't going to change a vote. She was never going to be the one to flip a vote. She was going with the majority all along. She was never willing to stand out there and be the decider. I had picked up that much on that. And I also knew that, even like when we played, there was 5 of us. I think it was when we were down to 5, and we played the competition where we had to throw it SmackDown, superhero SmackDown. And Jag was coming after me, Matt was coming after me, and then one of the turns, Sheree came after me. And I'm looking at her like, okay, here we go again. Where there's only 4 of us playing, and all 3 of you guys are trying to knock me out. And I'm looking at Sheree, and that's when I said, why aren't you guys trying to get Sheree out? Why ain't nobody? And she's like, why are you going to call out my name? I said, you just threw your target at my target. You just threw the ball at my target. Why are you targeting me? And we supposed to be final 2 again. So every time I tried to gain a little bit of trust and I felt like we were there, she always came back and showed me that she didn't have my back every time.
Got it. So
for all those people who feel like I dogged Sheree and I did Sheree wrong and blah, 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 you had to be there and you had to be in the house and you had to experience that sense of distrust back and forth all the time. I always tried, until that Izzy vote, I would never, ever have even recommended Jared or Sheree. Never. They would never, I would never have given them my vote to be expelled from the house. But once I realized that they were quickly going to get rid of me, now it's like, okay, it's on like popcorn.
It's crazy because, go ahead, Josie.
I was gonna say, well, in that case, because we talked a little bit about Zombie Week, but
Dwayne,
did you still want to?
I need my charge.
Have Jared in the house over Cameron, or were you open? Because Cameron was honest with you.
I really did want Jared to stay more than I wanted Cameron to stay, without a shadow of a doubt. And at one point, there were some people that were saying, maybe we should, but it's like, no, Jag and those guys holding conversations and not really knowing, because this was still close to, I'm sorry, Dwayne.
Go ahead. No, you're fine.
My battery's
That's okay.
Yeah, I got to put my charger on my phone, and this phone's gonna cut off in a couple of minutes.
If it does, we'll wait here, and you can always come back. But yeah,
right, it's like it's been an hour, and it's like, okay, so I got to get my charger on this thing. So anyway, I would never have voted to keep Cameron over Jared. Never.
Yeah. I think it seemed like the House consensus at this point. Something that is going on in the background, which is very apparent, is like another group is kind of coming together against you
Yeah.
guys. It's Corey, America, Jag, Matt, and then there's kind of like outliers, like they're not fully in yet, but like Bowie's here, trinkling a little bit. Blue's in the showmance with Jared, but Blue's still kind of in the mix a little bit. It's something, you know, and you know, so you guys send Cam out.
Yeah.
And I want to see how you felt about this, because this is the double week, and this is the knockout competition that we're about to see. And basically, Corey gets HOH and Matt gets veto, but there's a whole lot of like when they're like, God, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like usually when they were like asking things, I'm pretty sure like they were selecting you guys a lot for a lot of these the knockout thing, like when you guys had to go back and forth and answer questions and everything, and Corey obviously won the questions, but they kept selecting you and Sari and everybody on your side.
We had already had a conversation, and we had already decided that we were going after, if there was a double eviction, we were going after Jared and Sari. And so they said Jared was already out. I think he went out right behind me. And so they said, everybody just keep calling Sari until she's gone. So the goal was to not let them win. I don't know if that was an HOH or a veto, but the goal was not to let them win. So that HOH, so that then they could be nominated. And that's how Corey won. We wanted to make sure that Jared and Sari did not win so that we could put them on the block.
So you guys were in on that too?
I was in on that. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Now I ended up going out as like the second or third person, so I never really even got to play in the call Sari. And I don't know that I might have. I don't know. But I know that I was on board with nominating Jared and Sari because they had just tried to push me out the door.
Now this double night was, like I said, a lot of information going through, because obviously Blue and Jared are throwing up instead of Sari and Jared because of, you know, the presumed showmance. And Blue, like I said, was working with these people. Like, she was shocked, and Jared were shocked that Matt didn't use the veto on them. This is kind of where you're starting to see Matt's game kind of out in the front and everything. But ultimately, Blue and Jared are throwing up instead of Sari. Were you expecting that? And okay, and also it's I think this is also an important moment for you and Sari's connection, because Sari was going to you and Bowie and Nicole, like, are we going to save Jared? Are we going to save Jared? And you guys all told her no, like this is what it is. Like walk me through that, because I know it's super fast, but I can only imagine how crazy that was for you guys.
So we already had agreed that we were voting out Jared. That was the target. He was the target. Honestly, at this point, I actually probably would have preferred Sari, because I realized that Sari was controlling Jared's game. I still didn't even know about that mother-son connection, but I knew that Sari was doing more harm to me than Jared. That's how I felt. I honestly, at that point, would have preferred Sari going home over Jared, but I knew I couldn't say that out loud. So Jared was the target. Everybody had to, because they knew he was better at the competition. So that's who everybody wanted gone. And in my head, I was thinking that if Sari was gone, then I could get that connection back that I had with Jared. Well, little did I know, had I helped them vote out Sari, Jared definitely would have come after me. I didn't know that. But that's why then Sari, when Jared left, now Izzy's gone, I won't necessarily say that then she felt like she didn't have anywhere to go but to me, but it was kind of she realized she was still in hot water and she needed to have some allies now, because people had seen what her and Jared had done the week before. So I don't know. It was an interesting time. When we got in the bathroom, though, all of us were playing like, well, I don't know. Do you want to keep Jared? And we kept saying, but Sari, even if me and Mimi keep Jared, it's not enough. You got to have that third vote. You got to get Bowie Jane. And we already knew Bowie Jane was not going to flip and keep Jared. We just needed them to figure that out. It's like, even if we vote to keep Jared, he's still going to go, because Bowie Jane is going to vote Jared out. He's leaving. So we knew
did you feel a little bit of solidarity or at least connection with Bowie Jane? Because you all three of you were on that consensus, and you guys were all working together weirdly prior to the week with Cameron's HOH and you and Izzy being on the block. Did you feel like, oh, we could work with Bowie Jane? Because at that point it felt like the relationship was a little off between you and Bowie Jane. So did you think that may be like the beginning of rekindling that relationship that might have been lost during that Red Week?
I did, and I kept trying to go back and rekindle something with Bowie Jane, but the problem with Bowie Jane, and I guess this is where her lawyer self kicked in, Bowie Jane never fed you enough. So as much as I kept trying to see if I could gain her trust again, because again, Bowie Jane distrusted me again more than she distrusted Sari, and didn't realize that Sari was the real one that wanted Red gone. So Sari had convinced everybody that I was the reason why Red left. And so even though Izzy it was an 8-0 vote. So 8 people decided to vote Red out, but everybody put it on me. And so I carried the burden of that, and I realized that. And I'm sorry, my Christmas clock goes off on
You're
fine.
I was like, I'm liking the background music.
It's my Christmas. It goes off on the hour. And so yeah, even though as much as I kept trying, even in the very end when there was the 4 of us or the 5 of us, and me and Sari are looking at Bowie Jane, like, I remember asking, I said, so Bowie Jane, what is your game plan? I said, because, at that point I said, it's day 93. You got to have a plan. I said, are you just here until you're here, or are you trying to get to the end? I said, because if you're really trying to get to the end on day 93, at some point, you got to be willing to make a move. And even when she won HOH, what did she do? Instead of putting up Matt and Jag, who she put up? Me and Sari. She would never have wanted to sit next to me and Sari because she didn't feel like we weren't competitive. We were nothing. She wanted to sit in that final 3 with Matt and Jag, knowing she would not go any further than that. And she was okay with that.
Really good question in the chat from Joe Hernandez. A lot of fans feel like the competitions were too physical and favored by muscular men. Do you agree with that?
To a certain extent, I have to say they probably did better this year in having competitions that really could be anybody's game. They had more of that this year than I've ever seen. But I still say that the physical comps were physical comps.
Yeah.
And clearly aligned more with a male individual. Yeah. And they got to find a way to keep everybody on equal footing. I mean, and I know that's hard, that's difficult, but there's stuff that you can do where you can make it more balanced. I really do still believe they got to find a way to make these competitions more balanced. Like the competition that we did where Jag won the Demented Dentist. That's anybody's game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's anybody's game. The thing that I won, the HOH that I won, it's not a winner. That's anybody's game. It's more of a luck thing, but they really have to find more type competitions like that where it doesn't lean towards the guys that are left in the house, because then, again, what happens? Then you take out all the competitors. Well, we know they're going to be able to win anything that's heavily competitive. They're going to win. You get rid of them. So you also lessen their ability to stay longer because people see them as more of a target. So you got to put people on equal footing and really kind of force the social game. You got to be able to get along with people.
Yeah. All right. So Jared's gone. But another.
Or so we think.
Yeah, there you go. Zombie week, basically. So Cam, Jared, they come back into the house. And we kind of touched up a little bit earlier on, like, the whole blow up and everything. So we don't need to recap everything unless there's something that you wanted to speak about. But yeah, we already talked about that. But I'm not gonna lie, as a viewer, this is a very, very hard week to watch on feeds because there was just nothing going on for us, because you guys are just sitting there watching these two do comps every day, and we're just like sitting here waiting for like the next HOH, So it was a little hard to watch. But is there anything really like big that you wanted to talk about that happened during this week?
Well, I heard the fans didn't like that week. They didn't like the Path to Power or the
Nah.
The zombie week
Zombie.
when they came
Nah.
back. And I do think it really is a little unfair for you to get nominated and get evicted in a something 0 vote or something 1 vote and then get to come back. They decide that you get to battle back because it's unfair to the people who don't have that opportunity. So I think they should be careful. It's one thing if you do a battle back where in the past they've done battle backs where you battle back against everybody that's been put out. But when you just decide this week, these 2 get to battle back, both of them get to come back in. Well, what about the 5 people that got evicted before them?
Right.
Why didn't you give them the opportunity to battle back? So I think you gotta be careful when you, because it almost looks like they waited until it was the selected 2 that they wanted because everybody wants to see Cam or Jared, and then they pick these 2 to say, okay, let's let them battle back. That didn't sit well with any of us. And then there was no HOH that week, and so we really were just kind of sitting around the house that week, everybody.
In the back of my mind, go ahead, Josie.
I was gonna say if America would have gotten the choice to vote 2 people to participate in Zombie Week, would that have changed your opinion on the twist?
Actually, I think that would have been even better if we'd at least given America the chance to vote for the people that they thought should play in Zombie Week. But it could have very well ended up the same 2 people, unless they said out of everybody that's been evicted, America vote on the 2 people that get to come back in the house. But see, they wouldn't have had a way to do that because those 2 went out on that night. So there would have had to been a lapse of time in order for them to come back into the house.
Well, just to even nerd out, like in season 9, like they did this thing where America voted one option in, and then the last person who got eliminated was an option. It was like, all right, one of these 2 are coming back. Or like in season 6, they were like, the America chose which one of the 2 came back, So
right.
Yeah, I mean,
or I'm even the Victor season, like he had to battle back every single week against someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoever wins the first 2 go out, then they battle the next person. And they just kept battling until they ended up being the one to come back. I think that's a more fair competition than to just say, this week we're having a battle back. You 2 we did a double nomination. Both of you are coming back. And we didn't like that either.
I also wonder how the Luke elimination kind of affects the schedule, because they could have just canceled it, and they eliminate 2 people. Maybe what if there was like 3 people who were supposed to do it instead of 2? I don't know.
I do believe that elimination that they hadn't counted on played into either that path to power or that double elimination Zombie Week. I think definitely that contributed to him leaving, contributed to one of those events. That's my theory now. I don't know. That's my theory. To it.
Okay. So obviously, they're doing comps all week. Jared's out, Cam is in. And you guys are like, yeah, let's go. You guys find out, like, look, jury's not started just yet. I forgot to mention that, but you guys have a smaller jury. I don't know if that made you guys afraid or what was going through your mind with that.
We were so disgusted when we realized it wasn't going to be jury week when we did the wall. It was like, oh my God, because what did that mean? That meant that, see, we thought that whoever went out that week, they wouldn't be a part of the jury. So Cam wouldn't have been there and Jared wouldn't have been there. Actually, they would have become part of the jury. Cam ended up becoming part of the jury anyway, but Jared would have been part of the jury. And so the dynamics, the outcome would have been different. By making it become a smaller jury, then 2 more votes. You never know how that might have changed the dynamics, changed how things played out, the conversations in the house. So I'm not sure what made them do that. That was a surprise to us. And then it was unnerving because you knew now 2 more weeks and you could end up going home and still, after all this time, and still not be part of the jury. And we're at day 72 when Cam finally goes out and is the first one in the jury. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We've had winners announced on day 72.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you even had like Serene, once Jared was out, Serene was like, look, get me out of here. Like
right. She really did want to go after that. She didn't care.
So Cam is our next HOH and Vito one. Look, this is where after this is the last week that it's not a Bowie, Jag, or Matt HOH, which is mind blowing. But Cam wins it, and if I'm not sure if you knew this, he was fully convinced that he was in with Jag, Matt, because in somewhat Bowie as well. They're like by this point, Jag and Matt are already locked in. They're like this. They're committed to being like this duo, right? And Cam listens to them, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna put up Felicia and Nicole. Sari is not a problem. She can't win anything. Bowie's close with us, and America and Corey want to take us to the Final Four. Boom. Let's throw those two up here. This is the first of many nominations, like within the end game that you're going to have to face. What was going through your mind at this point?
Well, I'll be honest, this was probably my hardest week on the block, because this is the week that I found out. This is day 58. I found out that my brother had been in this car accident. And then I got nominated on day 59 and played the veto on day 60. And I was in my head debating on whether I even should have stayed. And then after he put me on the block, then I honestly, I was pissed off that I had even stayed. It's like, why did I even stay? This is stupid. Yeah. And I guess I just felt like at that point, I felt like they didn't even have enough empathy to say, let's leave her alone this week. She's going through a lot. That's when I really got irritated, and I was really debating on, again, whether I really went. And I'll be honest, I went in the diary room a couple times and told them that I changed my mind and I wanted to leave. But they talked to me and they encouraged me, and I have to say, here's the something. On day 60, which was this is the day we played the haunted house, and I end up walking out the front door. Not realizing that Felicia went in the same room twice. Now you're out the front door. And it's like, oh my God, because I just was so unfocused. But I got up that morning and I just felt a heaviness. And I remember right before we went to play the veto, I went into the diary room and I told him, I said, I want to send a message to my family. I said, because I believe my brother passed. And I had asked them not to tell me. I said, I don't want to know until I come out of the house, because I don't want that weight on me. I said, because maybe he's going to be okay. Maybe he's going to survive. But I felt it. And I went in there and I said, I got to send a video. And it's crazy, because when I got out, I found out he passed on that day. I went into the diary room about 11 or 12, and they said he passed at about 10:52 in the morning. So I knew it. I felt it. And that was a very hard week for me, because that's when people probably saw my mood kind of change, and I wasn't the happy-go-lucky Felicia. And I kind of stayed to myself for a few days because I was mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted. And then I was up against Mimi, and I didn't want to campaign against Mimi, because I really liked Mimi. I loved Mimi. And so I remember even Cameron saying, so you're going to campaign against Mimi? I said, no, I'm not campaigning against Mimi. I'm campaigning for me. And there's a difference. I said, because I'm never going to say anything disparaging about Mimi, because I like Mimi. And if she stays, I'll just know it was meant for her to stay, and I'll go home and go to my brother's funeral. I said, so I'm good no matter how this lands.
Did you keep this information to yourself out of curiosity? Someone asked in the chat.
No, when I came, because I was out of the house for about 4 hours. They called me out of the house at about 9 o'clock, because I remember we were in there cooking breakfast. Because on nomination, on HOH day, we usually go, it's a long day and it's late before we eat. So we usually always eat breakfast on that day if we don't eat no other day, or at least I did. And so I was just put some bacon in the oven and blah, 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 making some eggs or some French toast or something. Yeah, I had made a big thing to make French toast. And they called me to the diary room. So I'm thinking it's just a regular diary room. And when I walked in, one of the producers was standing in the room and was like, and it scared the death out of me, because there's never anybody in the room. You're always just talking to a camera. So I'm thinking, oh, Lord. And I'm thinking, I done said something wrong. I done something. I was like, what did I do? What did I do? I'm sorry. Are you guys kicking me out? And she's like, it depends. And I'm like, it depends. And I'm like, what? And so then it's like, well, what's going on? And she says, I got a call from your family. And then and so blah, blah, blah. So I was out of the house for 4 hours in the room, and they got my husband on the phone and my family on the phone. And I was able to see my brother in the hospital before he passed, and say a prayer to him, with him, all of that. So when I came back in, I knew, because I had been gone so long, they would know that something had happened. I wasn't just in the diary room 4 hours. And so I sat down on the couch and I told them what had happened. And I think that's again why I was so disheartened when the next day we have nomination ceremony and they put me up on the block. It's like, you got to be kidding me. This is who you guys are? Okay.
And is this the same week that you and America kind of had like your back and forth? I believe.
I'm
trying to remember.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was veto though after.
Yeah.
It was it was the veto. It was the veto.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I think I was sitting next to Mimi, and it was the veto ceremony where I made the comments about America and Corey.
Okay. So I mean, look, let's talk about it. So obviously Cam, he wants the veto, he doesn't use it, and then great TV moment, by the way, because like I said, in the season where like the people are winning the same comps every week, I'm just like, I need some entertainment. You really brought a lot of entertainment because you call out America and Corey in front of everybody. You're like, I don't care, I'm gonna do it. What was the straw that broke the camel's back?
Well, see, I really did that because earlier that morning, and it's what I said, I went to America. I was trying to find a way to get Cameron to take either me or Mimi off the block and have somebody else up, because I figured if it was anybody else in the house, I could beat them. I figured I would stay. And so I figured if you put up Bowie Jane, I figured if you put up Corey or America, if you put up Jag, if he had put up anybody else, they would have, Sari, I figured they would voted them out and I would have been okay. And so I was trying to get America, because I knew my theory was, now he swears it wasn't, that Cameron wanted to end up in that jury house with America without Corey being there. So I said, okay. I told America, I said, how devoted are you to Corey? I said, because, you could get Cam to put Corey up on the block. He could take one of us down and put Corey up on the block. If this, because we had actually talked to her about this Byebye Bitches, and me and Sari had actually tried to do, me and Mimi, we're trying to get her to do the All Girls Alliance from when we had the dinner, when Mimi won the dinner. And so I just thought it's a huge risk, but let me see where it lands me. And I knew when I asked her to go to Cameron and ask Cameron to take Mimi down or take me down, and she's like, well, who would you want him to put up? And I said, Corey. And her eyes got big. Her eyes got big, and I saw her eyes got big, and I could tell she didn't receive it at all. She got this distorted look, and I could tell that she was frustrated that I even made that suggestion. And I said, the only one he would receive this information from would be you. And the only way he would receive it is you said, Cameron, I'm okay if you take one of them down and put Corey up on the block and send him home, because then I'll hang with you for the rest of the game. When I did that, I knew I had blew it. And so but I also knew that America was good at twisting and telling fabricated stories and lies. And so I just said, I'm going to get in front of this one. So I got up and I said, listen, I'm just going to tell y'all what I did. I went to America this morning and I said, and then I watched him go upstairs. I said, you guys don't realize this is the snake right here. Because I had watched Corey the whole game. And all Corey did was just sit and listen to people's conversations and go feed it to people. That was his whole game. So he never had to win HOH. He fed enough information to give people what they needed to give them ammo to want to put somebody else up, so that he was never the target. And I was sick of watching him manipulate the whole daggone house.
Okay. And it was entertaining. We lived. We lived.
Oh my God.
When you said, oh, I remember tweeting something. I was like, because America
I
had said
didn't do
something
all
about
this.
she's ready to
You did.
fight. And you did. It was so good. Like
Yeah,
you have
and
such
see, I
good
got
moments.
I got irritated with America because then when we get up, now really my comment was to Corey. I wasn't even trying to dog because I just said America. I said to you, and here's why. And then I went to Corey because Corey was really my issue because Mimi had told me that Corey had started telling everybody that I came to him and asked for the Final Four. Corey came to me and said it first. And it's like, see, there you go again. I said, always lying. I said, this the snake right here. So then when we get up and walk away and then America tries to throw me under the bus, you know, I wanted to say, little girl, first of all, I wasn't even talking to you. This was really about Corey. So why are you now feeling the need to defend Corey? And Corey done walked outside and left you in here. You should feel goofy because he ain't even trying to defend you.
He was like, "You want to go play pool?"
No, I wouldn't like to. I was like, hell no, I don't want to play no pool. I don't like pool. You need to stand in the room. Felicia, I'll talk with you later in private. No, see, that's where the problem is. You get in private and you lie. I want to do this right here in front of the whole daggone house. Come on.
That was crazy. Listen, you haven't seen any clips from that fight yet, have you?
I have. I watched that. Actually, no. That's why I stopped watching. So that'll be the next one I watch. Will be that.
You're in for a treat because they did a really good job editing it. Yeah,
good. It was so
they were
good.
Like, you did. Boom.
And you know, it was funny because when we did the nominations, and they kept doing. They said now we have a 6-minute segment. Me and America looked at each other and we busted up laughing because we knew that all of that was part of all that confrontation. We said, okay, well, we know what they're showing everybody right now.
It was too good. I mean, do you feel in moments like that, I feel like you had everything you said was very valid, in my opinion. Every point that was made, it was very true. And I felt like if I was in the house, I would listen to you because you're spilling truth, you're spilling tea, you're providing things. Do you feel like the house actually listened? Because I felt like I was like, she's so right. Like Corey's making alliances, and y'all are mad at everyone in the house for making alliances, even though everyone's making alliances in the house. But you guys don't get mad at selected people. That's how I felt. Do you feel like they even listened to that, or did anyone follow through with like continuing that conversation with you?
And nobody really followed through. And for whatever reason, by this point, everybody believed that I was the one that was always lying. So these guys had painted a picture. They had painted such a picture that between Cameron, Sari, and Jared, actually, they had painted a picture that everybody thought that what I was saying was the lie and everybody else was telling the truth. And I'm like, y'all have already caught America in lies. You've already caught Corey in lies. But nobody ever believed that I was ever feeding them truth. And I kept saying, I'm not lying to you. I'm trying to tell y'all what's going on. That's the conversation I kept having with Jag. I don't have any reason to lie to you. I said, I'm spilling people's business. Now, I'm going over the top with that. I said, but I'm not telling you anything that isn't true. So while you keep trying to figure out who, I said, I'm still trying to figure out who I can trust because I realize everybody is lying. And I'm trying to figure out who in here ain't lying that I can actually try to align with. Because I knew that, again, Sari had Cameron thinking that I was the reason why Red left. I knew Bowie Jane thought that I was the reason behind that. When she felt like, because I said we're flipping the vote, she thought we were flipping the vote for Red and didn't realize we were actually flipping the vote from Red to Jag. We were flipping to Jag. And she didn't realize that because she didn't know that Red was, they had already decided Red was going home. So
there was something interesting about the Corey in America and Cameron dynamic, especially that week, because like Cameron had, well, the conversation between Cameron and Jack, and I don't know if you know this, was like, you need to obviously, Jared was telling Cameron to protect Sari, and the conversation was to target at least Corey and America or Corey and Matt and Jag. And I felt like Cameron just kind of went to the rhythm of his own drum, which is the theme of the season with him specifically. But we had these moments where we thought Cameron would target Corey. And did you feel like that week there was any chance he would actually fulfill on that? Because he had talked about it in the house, but we never really saw him do anything.
A part of me thought that I'm not sure what Cameron's thought was. Well, actually I do. Cameron was so fixated on the fact that we had blindsided him and not told him about that red vote, him and Bowie Jane. They never recovered from that. Neither one of them. They never trusted me, Sari, and Jared anymore after that. Not really. They listened to Sari, they listened to Jared, and I think Jared and Cameron actually gained a mutual respect for each other for the game. And when Jared told him the only person in the house that you can trust is Sari, he believed that. I think he really did. And so then he became even more fixated on me. And so I would never have recovered with Cameron. Cameron, for whatever reason, didn't have any use for me. Because even when we had the jury roundtable and I walked in and I was in there about 10 minutes or so, and Cameron just kept making sarcastic jags at me. And finally, I just said, stop it. I need you to stop all of that. I said, for whatever reason, this entire season, you decided you didn't like me. I said, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I said, but what you don't realize is I was not the one that targeted Red. That was Sari and Jared. I said, and then I did it to her. I said, tell him, Sari. He's convinced that I was the one that sent Red out the door. That wasn't me. That was you and Izzy who came to me and said, we might want to get rid of Red. I said, we were voting out Jag. I said, Cameron, for whatever reason, you believe I took your best friend out the house. And you have hung your hat on that. And I said, Sari, when you going to tell him the truth?
I have a lot of questions about that when we get to that point.
Let's
say it for the jury. All right. So just moving on. So obviously Nicole, she's out. Last person not to make jury, and the jury phase has started. Like I said, it's going to kind of be straightforward. I don't expect a lot because it's the same three people winning every week. But like I said, if you got something to throw in there, obviously feel free. So Bowie, she's going to win her first HOH. And it was a tie against you.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
And then I do this ridiculous how many seconds. And you know what's crazy? Because when we were in sequestration, when we were sequestered, I had actually, and I said we didn't have a pen, but we did have a pen because we had to write down our numbers when we did our, we had to do a COVID test every day. We had to write down our time and sign it. And so that was we didn't have any paper. So that was the only thing we could write on. So they had given us some painting, some water paints one day, and I flipped my board over, and something in me said, write down how many seconds are in a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, and a year. I had written it down on paper and memorized it. Something told me I needed to know that. And when they asked that question, even though I heard her say how many minutes, I heard seconds. And in my head, I was trying to calculate seconds, and then it threw me off. I'm like, seconds? Wait a minute, how do I calculate the seconds? And I just kept writing 60. So then I went to the 49,500 because that's how many seconds it was for the, what's the one, the competition that Cameron won. The hand on
I know what you're talking about. I don't pressure cooker.
Pressure cooker.
That was the answer for the pressure cooker. And when Julie kept saying, Felicia, we need an answer. Felicia, we need an answer. Something made me just write down, and I knew that wasn't the right answer. And I was so mad at myself. I'm like, Felicia, you had the wherewithal to write this down in the hotel room. And they asked you this very question, and you miss it. I wanted to slap myself.
Listen, it's a better guess than like you weren't the one that, like you and Bowie both submitted like last second. She put 27 and then added zeros. Like you guys both, I was like, she's so high, she's so low. Like, what's going on here? So,
It was crazy.
I was screaming at my TV. I was like, Felicia, no.
No.
Oh,
I'm like,
we were
I
all
just
rooting for
down
you. We were all
6,000.
rooting
If I
for
had
you.
just written down 6,000, it was like, what are you doing? I was.
It's all right.
That was probably the one HOH where I was so mad at myself. I got every question right and then missed that stupid thing at the end.
Oh man, that killed me.
Had you won HOH, who would you have put up that week?
That week, because Cameron was still in the house, if I'm correct at that time.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, I
McQuad
probably
is gone.
would have put up Cameron and Bowie Jane.
Okay.
What a week that would have been.
I probably would have put up Cameron and Bowie Jane, and if Bowie Jane or one of them had brought themselves down, honestly, I would have put up Jag.
Got it. Well, unfortunately, that's not the future we got. We got Bowie win, and I would say if last week didn't solidify Bowie's allegiance to these two, I think this week definitely solidified
Right.
because she was working with Jag and Matt, but also with Cam, and everybody was saying put up Cam, and she was like, I don't want to put up Cam. And then you could tell like she started inching towards it since everyone kept saying it. She's like, I need a reason. If someone gives me a reason, then like I'll do it. But it wasn't until like I forget, I think it was who is it that brought something to him? It might have been Jag or Matt, I forget. But regardless, somebody brought something to Bowie that was like, all right, I can put Matt up, and the whole blind side happened. Once Cam touched that block, I was like, it's over. Like there was no chance. But obviously, Jag, who wins the veto, vetoes you. I was curious, is this really one of the things that kind of made you want to work with him towards the end of the game?
Yes. When I realized that Jag was showing me a little bit of some allegiance, some loyalty, and when he was willing to pull me off the block, he and I had actually started talking more and more. And when he pulled me down, that's when I started gaining more of a trust with him. And but what I also knew was that Jag was the head. So it's like I knew I had to get in with Jag because I knew Cerie was closer to Matt, and she didn't have that same connection with Jag. I knew I had a better connection with Jag. So I said, if I can get Jag, if I can get in with Jag, I might be able to buy myself longevity in the game. Because I knew he was still going to continue to win comps. I knew that. And so when he was willing to take me off the block, it's like, okay, I got to start connecting with Jag more. I got to get in his corner or get him in my corner. Something.
Got it. Okay. So obviously Cam sent out the house, and Jag wins the next week. Now Jag
Invisible HOH.
Invisible HOH. There you go. And it's interesting because
and now I'm pissed again. I'm thinking, really? I was on the block. So listen, I was on the block week 1, week 6, week 9, 10, 11, week 13 twice, and then went home on week 14. Now you know that's ridiculous.
And it's crazy because I don't know if you know. So their strategy was like, let's get all the comp beast out, and then we can work with people who can be in all the competitions. And for them, they were like Bowie, you, and Cerie. Like that was always their thing, right? And it really came down to the coming into this week that Jag was going to throw the HOH because they were trying to get Blue to win it to take a shot at America and Corey, but then everything happened and that didn't happen, obviously. But it's crazy because this is really like the first week looking at their games that like everyone in the house they're aligned with. They're working with Cerie in some fashion with Matt. They're working with you because Jag just saved you. America and Corey want to go to the end with them allegedly. And Blue, now that Jared's out, is like loyal to them. And then Bowie's working. Everyone's working with these people, so someone's going to feel betrayed. Yes, and unfortunately, you did catch a strike. with the visible nominee. You and Blue were both on the block, And not only was this invisible HOH, but there were 2 vetoes. And,
Yeah.
they were trying to send Blue out originally. You were unfortunately just like the Pawn Star, but the vetoes got used because they found out that all this foolishness was going on, because Blue ratted America out, and just like they're like, all right, let's get him out of here. So you and Blue are safe, and America and Corey are finally thrown on the block. What's going on in your perspective this entire week? Because like all these twists are being thrown around, all these people are like vetoes. Like, what's going on for you?
Well, I mean, this was a crazy week too. The invisible HOH, and again, this is the week where I go up to Jag and Corey because I knew one of them was the HOH. No matter how you looked at it, I knew it wasn't me, it wasn't Sheree, it wasn't Bowie Jane. It's like one of you two is the invisible HOH. The nominations kind of told you who it was. You could kind of figure it out just based on who got nominated. So when me and Blue got nominated, I knew it was Jag or Corey. That's why I just went up to him. Okay, so which one of you guys is the HOH and what's your plan? What's really the plan?
The best, one of my favorite moments that season. One of my favorite moments. It was so true. Corey looked at you confused. I was like, Corey, you should know as well. Look at the nominations. Look at the facts in front of you. Come on now. Like Jackson there in silence. Corey's talking. It was ridiculous. You ate that up. That really, truly amazing moment. Amazing.
I think what shocked them a lot is because a lot of times I would just come up and say something. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe she just asked that. Yes, I did. What is your plan?
and eight. It was phenomenal. Those were, and that's the thing with invisible HOHs because it like last or season, the Tiffany season, they did an invisible HOH, right? But normally we see the invisible HOH on the Canadian franchise. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the Canadian seasons or stuff like that. But usually you're supposed to keep it a secret. It's supposed to really not be obvious. It's a game within a game because you're also trying to make sure that people don't think it's you. And you can tell your allies, but you don't want people to know. That's the whole purpose of it. And Jag was really interesting because one, he told literally the whole house. By the end of the week, everyone knew what was up. But also the nominations were so obvious to everyone except Blue, which was mind-boggling to me. Sister Blue, shout out to you. So I was glad that you went and you took that initiative and you said, what's the plan? Because I think the invisible HOH week is a week where you can do a big move. And not to discredit you, but there were much bigger targets at that point.
That's why I was so upset. And I'm like, you guys have this opportunity to make a huge move and you put up me and Blue. That's what kept irritating me. Cameron, you still got Matt and Jag in the house and you put up me and Mimi. Jag, you make invisible HOH and you put up me and Blue. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. What is everybody doing? It was just crazy to me. Nobody was willing to make big moves. I'm like, I can't be the big move.
Yeah. Oh man. So obviously, most of the stuff that's going on this week, it has nothing to do with you. America's cussing people out. Everyone's like trying to figure out what's going. You're chilling. You and Sheree are doing your thing. Corey sent home. Okay. So we got the next week, and like we said, Jag was able to compete again, which is mind-blowing.
Now that was bad too. People didn't like that either. Yeah. They never should have let him be able to compete that next week. So I really believe, a lot of times it has the appearance that it's almost like you have people that you want to get further in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was going to throw it, ended up winning it, and he throws up Blue in America, which is wild because, like I said, like Blue, you just found out they were going to nominate you. You get saved because of the veto twist, and then he throws you on the block again, and we see Blue go 4-0, and America stays. And some people could say like, oh, Blue was like tighter with like Felicia and Sheree, but I don't really think that. I think she was really close with with Suri, but she was also really close with Jag and Matt. So
somehow everybody at this point got convinced that I had a final two with Blue. I don't know where that came.
Yeah.
That just rose up out of I don't know where.
Yeah.
I don't know who put that out there, but when I was watching people saying, they got a final two, I'm thinking, where in the world did that come from?
Yeah. When I was a little confused when I saw that too, that's why I was like, I don't know about all that. But what was the thing to make you choose to take out Blue instead of America when it was all said and done?
Well, I think actually just because I knew that's what everybody wanted. I won't say that necessarily. Blue really was a bigger threat. I believe America would have worked with us. We were trying to see if we could get America to, now that Corey's gone and she really doesn't know who she can trust, her and Blue had just fallen out. If America stayed, me and Suri felt like we could pull her.
Mm-hmm.
We really felt like we could pull her because now she doesn't trust Jag and Matt. Corey's gone. And so we figured, okay, this might be our opportunity to get America on our side. Now, we weren't sure what her relationship still really was with Bowie Jane. And even though I trusted Blue, I didn't trust Blue because I knew Blue started with Matt and Jag. And so I didn't believe that we were going to be able to break that barrier, even though Blue did say that she was willing to put up Matt and Jag. But would she have really done it? Who knows?
I do think that taking out Blue over America is the smarter move because obviously America was so against Jag and Matt at that point because they just betrayed them. So I think it makes the most sense. And even though Blue was close, you guys just sense like she was close to Jag as well. So I do agree with that. But this is also a double eviction where Bowie wins another quiz competition again. Listen, I'm so sorry for anyone watching it. The tail end of this podcast might be a little dry because it's a lot of the same thing.
Rough.
It's rough. She wins HOH, Matt wins veto. You in America on the Block, obviously America was going to go because the entire chaos. I don't know if there's really much you can speak on, but actually no, there is something. So obviously when the nominations were all said and done, instead of talking to like Matt or Jag who are voting, I do remember that she pulled aside Bowie Jane, I believe, while America, who did she pull aside? America pulled aside one person, you pulled aside, I believe, Bowie Jane, and then Matt and Jag were just in the living room, kind of just like celebrating, obviously. Did you know, Suri, thank you. Did you know that you were going to stay, or were you just like, I'm going to pitch to Bowie instead of the other two?
I had the feeling that I was going to stay, but again, Jag had shocked me by voting out Blue before he voted out America. I didn't, when Suri first told me that she thought that was his plan, I said, oh no, he wouldn't do that. Now that I've watched back, I realized that Suri was in on this plan. And they knew that Blue was going first. And that's why she kept trying to convince me that that's what was going to happen. I kept saying, I don't think he's going to do that. I said, we'll just see. And when I realized that's what his plan was, it's like, oh, okay. Now, he'd been with Blue since day one. So if he's willing to vote out Blue before America, then even though they're saying I'm safe, heck, they might be trying to get rid of me because they figure they can beat America because nobody's going to pick America to win.
Mm-hmm.
So you never, when you get this late in the game, you aren't really sure about anything.
Now, so I will say this, Felicia, and this is move on to next week because Matt, like I said, Matt wins HOH. He nominates you and Suri, and Jag wins veto. Cool. I think this week or in the combination of last week, I'm gonna be honest with you, as an outside perspective, everyone was like Team Felicia. Felicia's our favorite player. Felicia for America's favorite player. Obviously, you know how me and Josie rock. We love you. There was, everybody has like their fandoms, right? And I think when you were like, I'm gonna go get Suri, like I'm gonna try to like work with Matt and Jag and try to get Suri out of here. I think a lot of people who are like in that, you know, specifically the Survivor fans, they're like, boo, Felicia, I can't believe Felicia's going after our girl. And like they turn on you. I think you were like almost, well, obviously seeing who wins America's favorite player, I don't really know this anymore, but I think you would have been in the running for like the AFP had it not been for that round. Not like it matters, you want to get the win regardless, right? But but yeah, like I was curious. So what was it that like what was the switch that was like, okay, you know what? Like it's time to go after Suri instead of Matt, Jag, and Bowie who are like really winning everything.
Well, because here's what I knew. By this time, I knew, and I wasn't really going after Suri, but
Okay.
what I was trying to do was ensure that I knew me or Suri was going next,
Okay.
without a shadow of a doubt. And so I knew that if I didn't do something, I would go before Suri because I had watched them. Remember, we just had this veto competition where Suri, Matt, and Jag were coming after me. Bowie Jane was the HOH, so she couldn't play. So I realized that I had to do something to Jag to make him target Suri before he targeted me. And that was my only hope because I knew the three of them weren't going to get rid of the three of them. Deep down, I was hoping that I could get Jag to carry me to get rid of Bowie Jane. And because I thought we were going to have the final four. So I was irritated when I realized that Jag didn't hold up his bargain with the final four. That really pissed me and Suri off. So it's like, so you guys just used us to get what you wanted. And now that we're down to 5, you had no intention of keeping us as a final four. Now, Suri knew that they had a 5 and knew they had a threesome. I didn't know that. So trust me, Suri was going to help them vote me out. She was banking on them voting me out. In fact, she was hoping Matt was going to put up me and Bowie Jane and then vote me out because she knew they weren't going to vote out Bowie Jane.
Got it.
So now I'm in survival mode because again, I knew Suri was closer to Matt and I knew I was closer to Jag. So I had to do something to solidify Jag's trust so that he would keep me. And that's when I had to tell him, listen, Suri and Suri did tell me that Matt had come to her and said he was now considering putting Jag up. Suri told me that. Now, I don't know if she was lying or not, but she told me he said it. And then Matt said it to me, sitting in the comic room. So I just politely let Jag know.
Okay.
Listen, you need to know that if push comes to shove, I said, Suri's not going to put you up, but she's going to convince Bowie Jane or she's going to convince Matt to put you up. She's never going to do it. And I was telling the truth.
And would you say that's also why you told him about the Blue, like Suri telling Blue that she was going to go home, basically?
Exactly.
Okay.
I knew I had to give him enough ammo for him to now say, oh, because the one thing I knew about Jag, the minute he knew you were targeting him, you became his target and he was going to put you out before you put him out. So I knew that once I did that, he was going to go after Blue, and he knew Blue was probably going to put him up. And then he would go after Suri. I needed to make sure he went after them before he came after me.
Okay. And this was also interesting for feeds because you're starting to see like Jag and Matt kind of like go back and forth of like who are we going to keep around, because you know like Suri's his girl, Bowie and you is Jag's girl, so you know it was like a little inward turmoil at this point. But okay.
And and I really do think that Matt was seriously contemplating. I believe Matt was seriously contemplating putting Jag and Bowie up and keeping Suri and taking Suri. I do believe he was really considering that. Now, me and Matt also talked about us too going to the final end as the what were we calling ourselves? We were the we had a name that we called the underdogs, because people always looked
Oh,
at him as an underdog because of his disability, and people always looked at me as an underdog because of my age. We had talked about this from the Izzy vote, and it was something that only he and I ever talked about, never said it to anybody else. And he said, you know, we're the underdog, she said, and I would love to see us sit in the final 2 years. Matt said that to me a couple times. But see, Matt was good at lying to people, so you never really knew if Matt was being serious, if whatever. And so actually by this point, I really kind of trusted Jag's word more than I trusted Matt's word.
Got it. Okay.
So now
I'm
I know
curious.
what lost me. Now I know what lost me America's fan favorite. So the fact that I went against Sari, you know,
Yeah, it was.
again,
It definitely was that.
the whole season though, I kept trying to figure
I'm
out
not claiming that.
why is
I will.
everybody protecting Sari, and Sari really did behind the scenes played a really doggish game.
Mm.
She was throwing everybody under the bus.
Hey, it's a dog eat dog world out there. I will say
It
there's
was,
only one
and I
winner.
just kept thinking. I became such a villain the minute I said her name out loud. And when she was gonna throw me out, nobody cared.
Listen, we're still Team Felicia over here. Okay, we're good.
I'm team everyone
Team-
black. Period.
Exactly
So
what she said.
that
What
part.
she just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, this is straight game talk. This is straight game talk.
Absolutely,
This ain't
no.
Absolutely.
But you know, I think that's
we
why
always
I
talking.
kept getting offended in the household, because I kept thinking, why is everybody, even after they found out the stuff, the lies that was told with Sari and Jared, and kept catching them in this stuff, still everybody still jumped right back on that Sari bandwagon, and I just I couldn't get it. But I think a lot of it again was that Survivor something.
Yeah, literally everyone. I've never seen it this rabid. Maybe last year, but this year too. Like everyone just had like crazy fan bases, like every single player. So I'm like, you're good. But go ahead, Josie.
I wanted to talk about something. I mean, Sari goes this week, we know, and I think you played a role in planting seeds, but everyone plants seeds about everyone, right? But I wanted to talk about the treatment you received in this final five, final four. You know, at least with Sari, you guys were alone together. You guys were isolated, but you guys were together. And obviously, there was some camaraderie, there was some working together, and towards the end game. But Sari does get evicted, and then you also just become isolated by yourself. It was very frustrating. I'm going to be really honest. I'm like tearing up low key, but it was very frustrating to watch. How you guys just almost became like not even like people. And I'm not going to make claims for you. That's just how it looked like to me and
that's
a few
exactly
other people.
how we felt. It became very apparent that they were almost like, we ain't got no use for you guys no more. You just here because we're just 5 people. And so one of you's going this week, and then one of you's going next week, and then bam, and then it's the 3 of us. And that's why I don't know if you remember the scene where I went in the kitchen and I stood in the kitchen because I got pissed off. Me and Sari were back there talking, and I said, you know, it's really shameful, because I even think about the last time they gave us the wine, and there was the 5 of us. And Bowie Jane had a bottle of wine, and Matt had a bottle of wine. Yeah. And they gave us a bottle of wine for the 5 of us to share. And instead of them saying, you 2 take that bottle of wine because we still have 2 bottles of wine. No, they split that bottle of wine 5 ways, and we each got this much wine. And then they went upstairs and drank the other 2 bottles of wine amongst the 3 of them. And we sat there and said, who is that selfish? Who is that deliberately demeaning to people? And we kept thinking, what is it with you guys? So you showing us now who you really are. And even though me and Sari had our something, we still had a connection. And still to this day, I still look at Sari as at least a friend in the house. We haven't talked since we've left the house. I'm just going to say that up front. And I'm not sure if and when we will. That's here nor there, but we still had a genuine, we tried to cover each other and take care of each other when we were in there, because we saw the chaos. We still saw that something that you always see. And we talked about it in there in depth quite a few times. In fact, I'll be honest, I got asked to not make certain comments because I said if Jared goes home and then Mimi goes home and then I go home and then I said if they put us on and I see 2 of us, 3 of us going to row, I said I'm gonna have to just say something. I'm gonna call the whole house in the living room and I'm gonna say something. And I got asked to shut that down because I knew what I was seeing. I'm just being real. I knew what I was seeing. And so when we got down to where it was the 5 of us, I got up from the comic room. Me and Sue was back there talking, saying, this is really shameful how they doing us. They just gonna hang out upstairs and act like we ain't even in the house no more. And so I went into the kitchen and Jag, Matt, and Bowie Jane were in there. And I stood there for probably 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, and they didn't say nothing to me. I mentioned to Matt that the pineapple that was on the table was still there and he either needed to put it in the refrigerator or throw it away. And then they just kind of worked around me, talked around me. They were fixing themselves pizza and stuff, never said a word to me. And then when Bowie Jane left actually Bowie Jane got a smirk on her face and she started smiling. And I looked and I said, what's so funny, Bowie Jane? And she said, huh? I said, what's so funny? Because I knew she was laughing because I was standing there at that table, that counter, and they were ignoring me. And so she said, oh no, I was just laughing because food was spilling out of my mouth and I felt silly because my food was spilling. I said, oh, okay. So then she got up and she went outside. And then Matt followed her outside. And then that's when I looked at Jag and I said, Jag, what's going on? He said, what are you talking about? I said, don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. I said, what you guys are doing in here now, I said, is ridiculous. I said, there's 5 of us in the house. The house done got real big because there's only 5 of us. I said, and you would think that the last 5 people should be able to come together and really enjoy each other in this moment. I said, and you guys are deliberately isolating us. I said, now, I didn't think that was who you were. I said, and I know what I'm saying. I'm really sorry. What are you talking about? I was just cooking. I said, stop it. I know what I'm seeing. So we had a conversation. He apologized. He did. He went outside. He apologized to Sari. And then he told them that, now he says to me, he told them he thought they needed to do better. I haven't seen the episode. I don't know what happened. I don't know what was really said. I don't know what was said upstairs. But then, I asked him, I said, so there's 5 of us. I said, so when one of us leaves tonight, tomorrow, I said, then what you gonna do with the person that's left here by themselves? You guys just gonna stay upstairs and leave that 4th person in the house by themselves? Is that what you're gonna do? Because I was already knowing what was gonna happen. And that's exactly what they did. Now here's my theory, another theory, and I'm sticking to it. You know, so we went home Thursday. I think it was either Friday or Saturday where they said they needed to close the HOH room because there was something that they needed to do and the HO room was going to be closed for an hour or 2. They ended up keeping the HOH room closed for about 8 or 9 hours. I personally think they did that deliberately to force them to come downstairs.
Okay.
Because I think they saw what everybody saw too.
Okay.
And
we were calling it out.
Yeah.
I always called out what I saw. And I think that's part of what pissed them off. Because when I saw stuff that I just, so what's going on? Right. Because I know what I'm seeing.
I'm curious, did you know about the conversations that were had in the HOH room about the plan to isolate you guys and pressure you guys and make you feel the way you did?
I did not until afterwards. Dwayne, my husband, told me. Because he was mad. He said there were several times where that's why he didn't want Matt or Jag or Bowie Jane to end up in the end. And he really just kind of had ill feelings because he saw all of this and heard all this. Well, of course, we didn't see this and hear it. So we didn't know that it was something they were deliberately doing. Well, I knew it was something they were doing, but I didn't know they actually had conversations and said, let's do this.
Okay. Yeah.
But I will say this too, in defense of at least Jag. Jag has come to me and he even called me. We've talked about it twice. And he's called me to apologize.
Okay.
To say that,
thank goodness.
I do realize that what we did was wrong. He said, and I want to take ownership of that. I can't speak for anybody else, he said, but the fact that you felt that we did that. He said that we did that. He said, I want to actually apologize to you. So he has. Matt told me on finale night, he actually, or the couple days late, or that weekend, he apologized to me and just said, I just want to apologize, for kind of stuff that happened the last couple of days. He didn't really go into depth. He just kind of said that. Bowie Jane never said a word.
Mm.
And I haven't talked to her since it was over.
Well,
protect your peace, queen. Protect your peace.
Because it was like it was already tough when it was just like you and Suri, but like especially when Suri's gone and it's just you, I can only just think the mental gymnastics, So like
I remember one day I sat when they made that table smaller, and I sat at that table the entire day. I got up, made my cup of tea, made myself. So I sat at that table the entire day and played solitaire at that table, and they only came downstairs to eat.
What I needed you to do is stop cooking for him, because I was just like, bro, like
we wanted you to stop cooking for them. We were so sick. We said, if you guys are not going to talk to them, you will not be getting a plate from them. Okay.
I know. And Sari even said, you cooking for them? I said, you know what? I said, God don't like ugly. I said, if that's who they are, okay. I said, but I'm going to continue to do me. I said, and I've cooked. When I've cooked for the house every time I've cooked, and I'm going to continue doing what I do. I said, I can't worry about what they do. I said, because people see them. I said, so that's on them.
Yeah.
That speaks to your character, truly.
And unfortunately, you do get eliminated. Fourth place, amazing, obviously. Obviously, don't want you to get in trouble, so don't talk about anything you're not supposed to talk about, but whatever you're allowed to talk about. Jury, obviously, from what we've heard, and we spoke about it faintly like earlier, but like they said we did not see everything with jury, and it was like pretty it was big. Like, I don't know what
Dr.
you want to
Will
talk
said
about.
It was one of the.
That's what he said.
What was it? He said one of the messiest, or like the best, because everyone like was just going at it. So we were expecting so much on the show, the jury segment. But how was that for you? Because you just walked in. You hadn't been able to decompress a little bit, because you come in and now you have to rehash everything from this jury point. So how was that for you? What was your mentality going into it? Were you trying to advocate for a specific person going into the house? Like, how are you feeling?
Well, first I was actually shocked because I didn't realize I wasn't going to the jury house. So I left and went to the hotel, not realizing that. I'm like, what? I don't get to go to the house. And they said, no, because they're all coming out of the house tomorrow and all going to the hotel. So you just going straight to the hotel. It's like, no. It's like, I at least wanted to see the house.
Yeah.
So then I come in straight for the jury round table. And so that's when they realized I think they were actually hoping it was going to be one of those other guys, because they just thought that somebody's going to have the courage to sit in one of them. And no, they didn't. So when we got in there, it was really more heated discussion around, again, I finally got tired of that something with Cameron to say, stop it. I'm sick of you acting like I became your enemy and I'm the one that did you so wrong. And I said, a lot of what happened, Cameron, is you lost trust in the very beginning when you left Riley and them side, came to our side. From that point on, people never trusted you, and you never really figured out how to build friendships in the house. You thought it was all about winning competitions, and it's more about relationship. I said, and so you've attacked me and been mad at me from the very beginning. That's okay, because I ain't particularly cared for you either because of all of that. I said, but again, one thing I can say about me versus everybody else, I said, I always continued to talk to you. I said, even when you weren't in power. I said, when you were in the HOH, I didn't go running up to your room and trying to sniff you. I said, I went up there to hold the one conversation we had to have, and that was really the only time I went up in your HOH. I said, when you weren't in HOH, I would still sit in the kitchen, talk to you in the living room, outside. I said, and everybody else, that's when they act like you was a pariah, but you still act like I was your number one enemy. I said, leave all of that over there. I'm tired of that. Shut that down. Then they talked about, so Reed tried to say, I don't know what it is. Excuse me, with you and everybody else, you guys just started drinking the Jag juice. And I said, I didn't drink Jag juice. I said, Jag didn't have me snowblowed. I said, I knew the game Jag was playing. I said, but I also realized in the end, again, you were closer to Matt. So my only in was through Jag. I said, at some point it becomes self-survival. I said, and even though I wanted to trust you, you continuously gave me reason to think, Cerie's at it again. I said, the smackdown. I said, when the three of you are now targeting me first, and I realized that I was the one that everybody decided had to go out first and couldn't win HOH. Well, if I'm in a final two with you, why are you doing that? So when all them America's favorite, whatever, they needed to think about all the stuff they saw her do, that, I kept trying to come back in and I kept trying to trust. But every time I tried it, I got something just said, my gut always said, Felicia, it's happening again. And so, but I still never lost respect for Cerie as a person and still for that sisterhood that we had in the house. And we kept that, and I appreciate that. Because even the day that she went home, and we didn't know who was going home, I kind of knew I was staying, but you still never knew, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a split vote. And if it had been a split vote, Matt was going to keep Cerie. And that's why I had to work so hard to convince Jag to convince Bowie Jane, because I knew that Jag was going to keep me. I felt Jag was going to vote to keep me, but I wasn't sure what Bowie Jane would do. But I knew all I had to do was convince Jag to convince Bowie Jane, because if it was a 2-0, I was staying. That was why I did what I did. Because if the tables was turned, Cerie was going to, heck, she was okay with me going and her staying. So at some point, you have to think about yourself. That was my strategy, because we were disappointed that both of us landed on the block. We were thinking that for sure they put Bowie Jane on the block. They still never touched Bowie Jane. And that was a shock to both me and Cerie. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
So, the jury, we got into a lot of those conversations. Cerie tried to say that she had my back through the whole game, and I was the one that was always sabotaging her. And even Corey had to say, okay, now, Cerie, let's just kind of really be honest. He said, are you saying that you never sabotaged Felicia, never threw Felicia under the bus, never told a lie on Felicia? She's like, I didn't. He said, now, Cerie, I'm going to ask you that again. He said, so you're actually going to sit there and say, and then she stopped talking. And I'm like, you did. I said, let's not even do that. I said, because you did it and I did it. And I actually, when we were standing in the comic room the night before she got evicted, I told her, I said, Cerie, here's what I want you to know. I said, I've done some things wrong in this game. I said, and then I said, no, I'm not even going to say probably. I said, I threw you under the bus and I shouldn't have. And I want to apologize to you right now for that. And she said, and I need to go ahead and say that I threw you under the bus too, because I did. And we hugged it out, and I told her that I love her. I mean, she had told me she was going to come to my house for Thanksgiving. I really genuinely believed all of this. And then I could tell them when we went to that jury roundtable that she was salty. And I was trying to figure out, what just happened? From the time she left the house and we hugged each other, told each other that we loved each other. And at the jury roundtable, I could tell she was salty. When we got in the back room off camera, she didn't talk to me. And then she said a little bit finale night. But I found out that she just said a whole lot of stuff and she was lying and she never liked me and blah, blah, blah. And so that's why I say we haven't talked, and I don't know if we will, but I'm not going to chase her, because I always genuinely liked Cerie.
I hope y'all do talk at some point.
I can say that with a genuine heart. I did. And so I never realized that she was doing a lot of the disparaging. Her and Jared were doing a lot of the disparaging conversations. Now, I got to say, though, Jared came to me and gave me a hug 2 or 3 times and apologized for stuff that he said after the fact. And so he realized by then, I think, too, because when Dwayne and Jair were there, they realized they had seen what was going on. And so then I think that's probably more of a reason why people felt compelled to apologize, because they knew, them too, if they hadn't already told me, was going to tell me what was really said and done behind the scenes that I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm curious, did you after the jury roundtable, who did your votes remain the same until finale night, or did finale night change your vote? Because I feel like
finale night changed my vote. I went in honestly believing I was going to vote for for Jag because I did believe Jag had played the better game. And I knew it was going to be all based on, now Bowie Jane, I was not voting for Bowie Jane, period. I'm just going to say it.
Period.
I wasn't. I was voting for Matt or Jag, and it was really going to be based on how they told the truth that night. That's what meant something to me. I wanted to see who was going to own their game that night, and based on how they responded to the questions. I honestly had planned, though mentally I was more leaning towards Jag because I did feel like he was the one that was running that side of the house and was running that game. But when he talked so, I don't know, in my mind, he kind of belittled Matt. I knew Matt wasn't going to be able to have an argument as strong as Jag's because I just knew that Jag was going to be a better presenter than Matt. I already had kind of presumed that. I was hoping Matt was going to be able to sell himself better and take ownership for some stuff. But Matt was still trying to play the we team game. And when Jag got up there and said, listen, I ran this whole season. I had everybody's blood on my hand, and I'm the one that made you go out the door. That didn't sit well with me. And that's what made me give Matt my vote.
Gotcha. There was people who were wondering if that was going to rub people the wrong way. I'm glad you said that. I had no idea. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the other five, I guess they thought, okay, wow, pal, you said it. But I don't know. I just think he didn't have to go in that deep because everybody knew what he had done. And so it was almost like then he just then he threw Matt under the bus. Right. But I guess it's $750,000. So
yeah. I mean, we've been having conversations all season long. We've been covering this season. And a big thing for me personally, I was like, well, once you're evicted, you don't deserve the money. That the whole point of Big Brother is to not be evicted. And I had made a statement. I had said the only way for me that Jag has a fighting chance is against Cameron because he as well was evicted. Right. And I was curious how much of a factor did that play into your jury roundtable? Because to me, it's like you've already lost the game point blank in the period. Like if you're here and you haven't been evicted, you merit to win more than the next person. I know that's a hot take. There have been discussions and essays written on the Twitter timeline. I get it. It's a hot take, but that's how I felt.
That was a big discussion at the jury roundtable. That was a big discussion. How do you give Jag the vote? And he actually got a 10-0 vote and got evicted and got brought back by Matt. But again, Matt never even brought that up. Matt didn't sell himself. Matt should have said the only reason why Jag made it to the end was because I saved him in the path to power. I think if Matt had said that out loud, he might have gotten 4 votes. But he didn't ever take ownership for what he did. He never said, here's what I decided to do. Here's the move I made. And when he didn't even bring up the fact that he saved Jag in that path to power.
Right.
That's why the rest of them gave Jag that vote.
Yeah, it was, I'm not going to lie, it was on the speech side, probably one of the weaker jury performances, unfortunately, because I'm going to be honest, a majority of the people coming in was like, Matt is going to destroy Jag in this.
Oh, yeah. I swore that if Matt sat in that chair next to Jag, he would win because his social game was so much better. But Matt did not sell. When he got in there, he didn't answer the questions to sell himself. He did not make you believe he deserved the $750,000.
Right. Okay,
That's why I wanted to sit in the final 2 chairs. I said, oh, don't let me sit in the final 2 chairs, even though I only won HOH one time. Oh, I can out-talk Jag, Matt, and all the rest of them.
Yes.
I'll get the vote if you let me sit in the chair.
I believe you. I really thought you could have won. I was sick.
Oh, man. So, obviously, Jag, he's named the winner. And the game's over, right? So I guess here's some of our closing questions. So obviously, did you go straight home after you got out the game, or were you out in LA like everyone else? Okay.
My husband and son came, and I said, please let them come. Now, I knew my husband was going to come. I was surprised my son came because I didn't know if he was going to be able to get off work. So it was so exciting. In fact, they came, and we stayed until Sunday.
Okay.
So we stayed. We went to the basically finale night party that was held,
Aza.
and then
Yeah.
we were there, and then Friday night went to another something, and then with the Blue had a party at her mom's restaurant. That was really nice. She had a dinner, and her mom cooked a fabulous Korean barbecue. Oh, it was fabulous. Shout out to Blue. And we had a good time. And then Saturday, we actually all met someplace. We met down at the restaurant or a bar or whatever down there in Los Angeles. It was a eatery place, and we still had a good time. Everybody didn't show up for that. And then the rest of the day, and then Sunday we were on our own. So, but we stayed till Sunday and then came home.
Okay. Who are you like close with? Like, who are you still talk to like frequently?
Actually, like I said, I've talked to Jack more than anybody. I really have. I talk to him probably once a week. I'm either like, I just chatted him the other day to ask him a question, text him, but I've actually talked to him on the phone like 3 times. I got on a live something that him and actually it was just him. I got on a live something with him, and we did something for about 15, 20 minutes. And so, yeah, surprisingly, like I said, I really did genuinely like everybody in the house. And so I realized that, you always have the villains and all of that, and people play these roles in the house. So I didn't really take any of this stuff personal, where I figured that once we got out the house, I was going to hold it. And so, yeah, I mean, I've chatted with Blue. In fact, Blue called me. We've talked. And in fact, she was calling me, I think, from Hawaii. And so, yep, I've talked to Blue. I've talked to Mimi a couple times. Mimi is probably the one I'm actually genuinely the closest to.
That's good.
Yes. In
We
fact,
just had her on. Shout out to her.
Yeah, she's one where I know I will see again.
Good. Has anyone from like previous seasons or anything that you like really wanted to meet? Do you meet anybody that you like?
Actually, Taylor and we met almost all of the cookout. All of them were at the party. Okay. So met them, met Joseph. I met and I can't think of his name now, and this is really terrible. He was in Big Brother 2, I think. Oh. So one of the old first players. In fact, I have a picture of him on my Instagram.
I'll have to look at it.
Yeah, I'm in a picture with him and Taylor on my Instagram. Cool. But I've had the opportunity. In fact, I just I chatted with somebody from 2023, the 2024 season, 2023 season. So yeah, I've reached out, or several of them have, like between Instagram and DMs and stuff, they've sent a message and I've sent a reply back. And so it's kind of a cool something. It really is. And cool. I am actually proud and excited to be a part of this BB family, because when you think about it in the big scheme of things, only 300 and something people have ever walked through that door. Yeah. And that's over 23 years. That's a lot. That's a huge something. And so I take pride in that. And I'm the oldest female to ever, walk through the door. One person older, I think it was a gentleman. I think he was in his 70s, retired Air Force.
Jerry.
Jerry from season 10.
And so I feel to have made it to the Final Four, I'm okay. I'm happy with my performance.
Well, look, Felicia, I think that you carried yourself amazingly. You represent you and your family amazing. You just did a phenomenal job. You were one of the bright lights in the season. And we are so thankful that you even just did this deep dive with us. Like, you're our first ever deep dive. I know we didn't come in here planning that. And when I was like, how long you got? You're like, look, I got all day. So thank you so much for even like gracing us with this. This is so awesome. And like, we're so appreciative.
I just have one more question. Felicia, what do you have against the microphones? Let's talk about it. You ran through those mic cracks.
My God. I was actually worried they were going to take stipend money from me for the microphone. You know, the first one, it was like, okay, I literally wasn't, I'm not used to wearing a mic. So the first one, okay. The second one is like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be a problem. Now, by the third one, it was like, now I'm embarrassed thinking, oh, Lord, they're going to be saying, girl, you got to go. And then when I fell in the hot tub, that was, I'm going to put my toe in and I fall in with the microphone in my hand. And they kept saying, where's the microphone? I said, it's in the bottom of the hot tub. No, it isn't. We looked at it. I said, yes, it is, because it was in my hand when I fell in and it wasn't in my hand when I got out. That microphone is in the bottom of that hot
tub. When you fell in that pool, I was like, no.
Oh my God. See, this is where I say Heis. I said, we're sitting there laughing. I said, well, maybe nobody saw it. And he's like, oh no, Felicia. He said, you're just on national TV and all of America saw you fall in that hot tub. And then one more time after that, I dropped it again and I just said, Jesus, this is crazy.
It didn't make the episode. It was the one where you were making the bed.
I started putting it on the back of and then I started just clipping it to my bra. I said, I got to find a way to stop dropping this mic.
Well, Felicia, thank you so much. You were an absolute delight tonight. What's up next? What you got coming up? You got anything you're working on?
Well, I'm getting with, I'm trying to brand Mama Fee, the name. I'm trying to figure out how I want that to look. I do want to actually, like I said, start doing podcasts and just talking to people and, staying in touch with the Big Brother and now become somebody who podcasts with the cast of Big Brother and stuff like that. But just speaking to people in general and just being a affirming, motivational, somebody who just kind of just talks about life. Young people, encouraging young people to chase their dreams, encouraging middle-aged and older people to chase their dreams. You're only as old as you feel, and you're only as limited as the box you put yourself in. And right. I just want people to learn to live life. You only get one life. This is what I say to people. You get one life. You're the author of the script of your life story. What is your story going to be?
Amazing way to close this out. For anyone who wants to follow Felicia on any of her socials, I'm going to link her Twitter and Instagram at the end of this. And
my TikTok.
And your TikTok. Listen, I'll get that up there too. But Felicia, obviously, like I said, it's 3 hours, but whenever this is all done processing, make sure you look back at this because this chat has been active this entire time. You got a lot of love in the chat from people, so you can always go back and look at that. But hopefully we see you again in the future. Hopefully you can come back on the Silent Podcast. We would love to have you back anytime. And like I said before we went live, you got any questions with all this, you got my email now, so you can reach out. But
I thank you guys, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to tell my perspective of what happened this season. and it was an experience, one I will never forget, and I look forward to whatever opportunity comes on the backside. And I still just want to continue to do me. My family always comes first. God, family, all of that is first, and then everything else is like the icing on the cake. So this is just another piece of my life, but I love life, and I believe in living life to the fullest. So good luck to you guys in all your endeavors, and I thank you for your time. Now, will I be able to? You said you'll upload this and send it to me. Or I'll be able
I'm gonna upload it, and I'm gonna send everything to you. I'm gonna send everything to you in your email. I got you.
I got you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Smooches to you guys. Have a good night. Have a fabulous, wonderful, beautiful Christmas. Show some love to people. Do something for somebody less fortunate. And enjoy family, because tomorrow isn't promised.
All right. And with that, that has been our deep dive with Felicia. I'm going to fix the title because this is definitely a deep dive. It's not an interview anymore. But until the next stream, have a good one, guys. Bye.